What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Collecting Profit. My name's Anthony, and with me, as always, I have Michael over at Huddle Card Collection. How you doing today, Michael?
Doing wonderful, sir. Doing wonderful.
Wonderful. Super pumped to have you with us, man. Anything new going on your channel this week?
Not a lot of stuff. I'm traveling for work. I just got home today from Mississippi, and tomorrow morning I leave, and I'm on the road again for the rest of the week. Uh, still trying to sell out the break. It's not going well, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. See what we got to do. Other than that,
I'll have to
same old,
share
man.
that out a little bit more on my channel too. I'll see if after this, if you remind me, I'll share it in my community tab. Hopefully, get some more people to look at it too.
Yes, sir.
Without further ado, though, we have a very special guest this week. A lot of you guys probably know him from YouTube, but without further ado, because I'm Carlos.
Good evening.
Ta-da!
Good evening.
Excited to have you, man. For anybody that may not be familiar with you, which I'm sure most people are, but can you give them just a brief rundown of like who you are and what your channel does and stuff like that?
Sure. So I spent basically the last, I want to say about 5 years. I think it's been about 5 years for sports cards. So the channel's been older than that. There's videos going back a ways, but the past 5 years has been sports card focused. So it's basically whatever comes up that I want to talk about in terms of topics. It's my collecting, pick up videos and stuff. I did one earlier today. Actually, a lot of Britsburgh. So
Mhm.
you got a taste of that.
Yep.
One of the player collections that I do a lot of that, and then we do Friday night live streams where I have a cast of a motley crew of characters who come on with me and then rotate around, and then we have interesting discussions.
Yep. And it definitely is a motley crew. It's really awesome too. I was just telling you behind the scenes here before we went live, how much I really enjoy the banter with you guys and Eric and like a lot of the other people that you bring on. It's really entertaining. Helps me personally get through my Friday night shifts at work. So it's
That's
always
kind of the hope.
yeah.
That's one of the things I was saying to you guys. It's supposed to be a hangout thing.
Hmm.
If you don't take it too serious, the regulars know at this point. It's become a thing. One of the jokes I go off the top is that it's episodic. So now
Hmm.
it's the longest running episodic, whatever this is.
Yeah.
It's live. I guess we can call it a show, I guess.
Hmm.
But there's been at least one live stream every week since late 2020. And I think I'm the
That's awesome.
only one who has been able to actually, and that includes the Christmas Eve episode and the New Year's Eve episode, 2 years back to back of New Year's Eve
Hmm.
and Christmas Eve episodes. I've had my family in the background. I've been back at my house,
Oh,
and my
wow.
and my and my dad came by and made cameo appearances while I was at the house doing a live. I did a live stream on Christmas Eve before we went to go open presents, where they got Carlos Senior to come on. So like, I take the weekly thing very seriously.
Yeah, that's dedication, man.
Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's are we going to be that dedicated, Michael? Come the holiday season. That's
Hey,
good. That's
I
something to live up to, man.
That is. That is.
That's definitely.
Yeah. Ooh,
What's up, Craig? Good to see you, brother. Good Dom in the house. Good to see you as
Tommy.
well.
Yeah, I don't know. Christmas Eve would be a tough one. New Year's Eve would be
Most people with families, it's a bit tricky. It
yeah.
helps. It helps that I'm literally at the house with my family, and they're like cool with it. They're
Yeah,
just like, yeah, go
definitely.
ahead, set up your thing, and then when you're just make sure you're done before midnight because they like to open presents at midnight. We're all
Mhm.
adults at this point in the house, so it's
Yeah,
it's not a big deal. But they're like, yeah, can you just make sure before midnight? So basically, I cut it off about 15 minutes shy, and then I go open the present with the family. I wish
nice.
everybody a Merry Christmas or Happy New Year, and then we take off.
That's a great way to end a live stream. Just going and tearing into some
That
probably
is a
good
good
stuff.
one.
It
Yeah,
works out. That's like it's meant to be fun. If it feels like work, then we're doing it wrong.
yeah, absolutely. And that's what I really love about the Friday night live stream is like literally it makes my own work not feel as much like work. You know what I mean? Because I have like an earbud in one ear, and then it's just like I feel like I'm hanging out with the guys. So
Well,
it's
that one is one that I've gotten fair bit of. The other one is the road trip thing. Apparently, we're
mhm.
great for road trips. People like firing it up and then just playing
Uh-huh.
it in the background while they're doing a long drive. And
Mhm.
given they're so damn long, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I got a 6 hour drive. Yeah, that's like an episode and a half. You'll be
Yep.
fine. Don't even worry about it. Go back like 2 weeks and you're covered.
Yep.
Right?
Cheers.
Yeah. Another really great thing, even if I like randomly get a Friday night off, which I hardly do, whenever I'm sitting around listing cards to my eBay store,
Mm.
being able to list listen to something that's that long, because it's such a pain in the butt, like every 15 to 20 minutes to have to like change what's on my TV, because I'm such a YouTube watcher. Normally I'm like trying to digest some kind of content. So something that is that long is like perfect for, trying to fill up those blocks of time whenever I'm either at work or trying to do something and I just need something to take my mind away from the monotony of life.
Well, how fortunate that I have a playlist that is now comfortably over 150 episodes.
There we
All
go.
absurdly long. At the end of the year, at the year end, I do like how much time content wise. If you just watch the videos for that year, at the year end, I do a little recap, and I'm averaging about a day of content per month, the last couple of years. So it's literally weeks of my life that
Oh, wow.
you're getting in video form.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's
It
a
also
pretty
means
big
that it also means I need a life
accomplishment,
is what I need. It also means I need a life is what I need.
actually.
But it also means you enjoy doing it. So I mean, it's not like you don't. It doesn't seem as though you look at it as a chore. You look at it as something that you look forward to doing. Your time to just relax and hang out and BS with the guys.
Yeah, well, that's why we settled in on the Friday night thing. It's a heck of a lot easier to justify. A lot of the one who do come in, it's like, all right, Friday night is I'll come on, because they know like Friday night's like, yep, hey guys, I'm just gonna be I'll be in the cave and I'll be doing something
Yeah.
for a couple hours, and people can come and go. Nobody is expected. The only person who needs to be there for the duration is the host.
Yeah.
Everybody else can kind of rotate around. I can come on for an hour. Go ahead. And they tend to stick around for a couple hours sometimes. That's what happens.
But irregardless how long he's on, Eric's still responsible for the like button. Is that right?
100%. Yeah. Though,
Nice.
truthfully, he's not even here. He's not even in the chat. But if anybody hits like here, I'm billing him for that too.
That's awesome.
Like, there's no part of the internet. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you've got a personal page, somebody hits a like, just let me know. I'll shoot him a big invoice. Dude's loaded. He can pay. He can afford it.
You heard it here, guys. If you go ahead and hit that like button, Eric's going to send you some money.
He deserves it. Like, he'll complain, he'll cry, and he'll whine about it, but that's what makes it funny. So I say, do it.
That's awesome.
Why did you start the show?
The original idea. So the original idea. It's actually very very strategic and not I won't even pretend it's altruistic in any way, shape, or form. I had gotten to the point where I had enough subscribers where you can monetize the channel. Now, to be fair, if you monetize one of these YouTube channels, like it pays nothing. That's why I joke with people. It's like don't think we're doing this for the money, because trust me, it's less than $1 an hour. It's like trust me, you're not getting. You're not doing it for that. I make more money eating my lunch. Trust me.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when you do monetize it, then YouTube had the thing where they changed the rules and they said you need a certain amount of watch hours. And I realized, okay, well, I could just do a live stream. Like originally it was like 2 hours, and I'd be like, yeah, I could do like 2 or 3 hours, and if people watch it, there you go. That's a really easy way of hitting the watch hours. And then after a while, it became a habit, and we just kept doing it, and it became a very easy thing to do every week. And I go, yeah, it lets me. If something cool comes out of it, I can sometimes pull a clip. If that happens once in a blue moon, we'll have a segment that makes sense to pull as a clip. But yeah, it became a hangout, and so it started off as a way of meeting the watch time hour requirement, and now it's like, yeah, we've blown well past that at this point. Now I do the watch time hour thing for a year in like a month, so it's not even for that anymore. It's just like
awesome.
just hanging out,
That's really cool to know, like, kind of what spurned it to like start up, and like kind of where it's like adapted and grown to. So that's really
I could have
cool.
just lied and said something that was more noble, like I felt like there was a need in the hobby. It's like that'd be a lie. It was self-serving, like almost like most proper things in life. It's completely self-serving. It's all about me.
Hey, it's understandable.
There's
We've
nothing wrong
all
with
had
that.
to reach those watch time at some point. You know what I mean? Like, I too am making like probably sub $1 an hour, so I get it.
Yeah. It's like there are plenty of people who do that. It's like at least I'll admit it. I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you straight up. Yeah, that's why I did it. That's the reason.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Oh man, it makes a whole bunch of sense.
Now, at that point, like you'd already surpassed like the 1,000 mark, and you were trying to reach like the rest you needed to get monetized. So you'd already been creating content prior to that, like the start of the show.
So the channel has actually been monetized 2 separate distinct times. The first time around was years and years and years ago, because YouTube had a different standard. They changed the standard some years back. So originally you didn't even need 1,000 subscribers. It was just you could apply for. I forget what the original one was, but it was very low. The bar was actually quite low, and I think that's why YouTube changed it. So back in my channel, if you go way back in the archives, there's things that they consider lives, but it was under Google Hangouts. So before the era of StreamYard, which actually I'm a big fan of StreamYard.
Yeah.
I think they do a good service for this kind of thing. It's actually really
Hmm.
good. So I'm a
Yep.
fan, obviously. But back then you had Google Hangouts, and Google
Yeah.
Hangouts could do a lot of the stuff that StreamYard could do, but it was free. And like a
Yeah.
lot of good things that are free, Google took it away.
Yeah.
So, but for a while you could use it, and it was actually really good. And you could share screen and have people on and do the same thing. You could send a link, and then people could connect like on a video call like this, and then obviously you could broadcast it. But I was doing like movie reviews and stuff, and talking about Blu-rays, and that's what I was doing back then.
Mhm.
But at that point, I had it monetized. And what happened is, for whatever reason, the algorithm hit going back years. So if you go
Yeah.
back in the archives of the channel, you're going to see there's a couple of those lives that have
Yeah.
comfortably over 1 million views.
That's
So there was a
awesome.
period of time where those ones were actually making me money for something that I had done 7, 8 years ago, and for up
That's
until
awesome.
recently, I was actually making like $10 a month from something from 8 years ago.
Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for stopping by, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. But yeah, so that was the first time it was monetized. Then YouTube changed the rules, and when they changed the rules, then you needed 1,000 subscribers and you needed that watch time thing. So then monetization got turned off. I started doing the sports card thing, and when you pivot and you change what you're doing in the channel, whoever was subscribed to you before stops paying attention to you, obviously, because they weren't there for that. Some of them stick around for a little while, but for the most part, then eventually they leave. I decided to go sports cards. I think it's back in 2018, so it's just pre-boom. So I was before the boom.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
but I was making those videos on sports cards, and is being viewed by no one. Um, I think maybe some rando somewhere accidentally misclicked, and I think that's how they got views back then. But then eventually some of the videos started getting a little bit of traction, and that eventually helped it. So a couple of ways along the way, some people found it, shouted it out. It got picked up a couple subscribers here and there. Once it hit that 1,000 threshold, though, then it was just the watch time thing that you had to do in order to meet that requirement. I think it's 4,000 watch time hours in a year, in a
Yeah.
365-day period. I think that's the rule now.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're doing lives and people are actually watching them, you can blow well past that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was how I got monetized originally too. But early on, I feel like most of my content was more so live because, like, even editing, like up until recently, like my videos were trash. If I'm being honest, just because it was me trying to like figure out how to edit on a MacBook going like this, like felt like Fred Flintstone. But
At the start,
yeah,
everybody's bad anyway. I've given that advice. They say, like, advice for somebody starting it up. It's like everybody is terrible at the beginning.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. Talking to a camera is weird. You're
Yeah.
talking to a void. The other thing, honestly, that lives work with is at least I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking at the two of you. So when
Right.
I'm talking, I can see your faces, reacting to things and my brilliant jokes, and
Yeah.
I can see it, and that allows me then to respond, accordingly to whatever's going on. But yeah, when you're recording a video, you're literally talking to a camera that's not doing anything. So there's no feedback. You don't even know, like, how do you sound. Most people don't know what they sound like until they hear it recorded and played back, and they're like, "Oh my god, do I sound like that?"
yeah,
It's weird.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So you said that. So you were doing movie just all kind of stuff, and then in 2018 you went to sports cards, which is interesting because a lot of the people who kind of shifted their channels were really more towards the boom. You were
Yep.
before.
Mhm.
Why? Why the change?
The channel had gone dormant. I had gotten bored with it. I enjoyed collecting the Blu-rays, but I'd kind of stopped collecting them. So I was literally talking about, I was doing like pickup videos of Blu-rays back then. So it was media pickups. I was getting media, and that's what I was talking about, which actually was a lot of fun. And some of my best videos from back then were me going through my collection and talking about some of these things. Like, I enjoyed it, but I don't watch movies as much anymore. I've still got a chunk of that collection still. I've got a back catalog of stuff I need to go watch, but I wasn't watching movies as much anymore. I wasn't really collecting or picking them up. So what the heck am I going to talk about if you've got a channel that's built on doing a lot of that stuff? All of a sudden you're not doing it. So the channel went like dead for maybe about 5 or 6 months, and I was like, well, I've already got the YouTube channel. Stuff's already set up, and I've got a camera and everything. Like, all right,
Yeah.
what else gonna? Well, I've been collecting for 30 years, so I was like, well, I could just talk about that. I know that stuff, so I'll just do it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Michael and I both previously were doing YouTube prior to the sports card content as well. We were both kind of running in the same type of circle. We were doing like eBay type content where we were like going and like buying stuff, either from stores or garage sales, like storage lockers, that type of stuff. And then we were
Yeah.
like flipping it on eBay and making videos about it and that type of stuff. And then once COVID hit, it was like everything was shut down. So like the only thing that I could really find to list on eBay was my card collection, which like at that time was blowing up because of like cards becoming so popular. So at that point, it was like I became so re-obsessed with cards. Like I'd always kind of collected like the Cordell Stewart, Anderson Varejao cards that aren't worth like very much, like, or
Sure.
just random like little bits of PC stuff. But it was just like re-obsessed like I was all over again as a kid, and then basically like the content just evolved right into that, like more so than any of the other stuff we were doing. What's up, Mark? Good to see you, brother. Big shout out to Mark. Pittsburgh Card Show's coming up October 14th. If you want to drop a link down in chat, Mark, feel free, brother.
Yeah, and I started, changing over to card stuff because, my son was starting to get into it a little bit more. So when we first started the channel, we were doing a lot of stuff together.
Nice.
And stuff like that. And then that kind of, faded away. But I'm looking behind. It's a G? Is that a Green Bay G?
Yep,
Yeah.
You got the Green Bay, so you got the one of those little felt ones with the different logos. So you got Green
those
Bay
are cool.
Packers. You got the replicas of the Super Bowl tickets. You got that. I do have a real one for Super Bowl 45. I do have that in the collection, but these are all the little replicas. And then you got Mike Modano, so that's my guy from when he played in Detroit. So, so there's some appreciation for that. And that in the corner there, that's Raleigh Fingers. I actually got that at one of the sports card expos that we got here. I'm a baseball guy first. That was always my first. Even though I'm in Canada, I actually rejected the local. They almost deported me. But I'm a baseball guy first. But that's my deal. I do enjoy hockey, obviously. Modano was my guy, but baseball was my first thing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Modano a American hockey player too?
He is. He is, right now at the moment. He is the top scoring and top goal scoring and top point American of all time. Patrick Kane should probably pass him in both in the next couple of years, but he was number one in both. He's basically your American Wayne Gretzky. He's your guy. Yeah. He's got all the records for now, but they'll be surpassed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's definitely underrated. I remember watching him a lot as a kid. I was super into hockey as a kid because obviously being in Pittsburgh, the Penguins, like growing up in the era of Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, like.
Well, if you're in the right vintage, that's when the team was good.
Yeah,
winning back-to-back Stanley Cups and being stacked with like ultimate Hall of Fame talent. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Super Mario really is the reason we even still have the team. Like prior to drafting Crosby, there was a lot of talk of the team going to Kansas City, and that's when Mario stepped in and purchased the team for like the majority stake, and that's kind of how we ended up keeping them. So.
Now, for the record, I want to say I'm not a big conspiracy guy. That's not really my deal. But I think the Crosby thing was totally rigged, 100% rigged. Like that team was on its way out of town. Like they were out of town, and they're like, give him the Crosby kid. It's like, give him that one. That'll fix everything. Mario's like, hey guys, could you seriously? You need another generational player to save your goddamn franchise again? You weren't enough. We got lucky. We got to do it a second time. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean,
I got suspicions, man. I
remember when we got Sid, Mario even took him into his own home. Like, so for the first year he was in Pittsburgh, he was basically living in Mario's mansion, which is pretty cool.
But
then they follow it up with Malkin.
But I think it's reversed. I think Malcolm was first and then Crosby. If memory's, I think it was reversed, one or the other. And so you had but within short order, you had Malcolm, Crosby, and Marc-Andre Fleury. So you got your goaltender, you got two skaters. And you got this stacked team of great players, and it's like, anything else we can do for you? Do you want us to do you want us to shift the ice in the direction, help you out a little bit? Anything else we can do? No fault to you. If I'm you, I'm taking it. But I'm just saying, I got questions. Is all I'm trying to say. I got questions.
That's pretty awesome, Dom. former
So then,
Penguin.
along the same lines with when the New York Knicks got Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, but I mean, like 3 times, man. Not like once. It's like, guys, I don't think once is gonna get her done. I think we need more talent here. He's like, can we get another one? It's like, really, you need another one? He's like, can we get a goaltender too? Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we did kind of luck out like several years in a row there. Do you think
Absolutely.
the Spurs
Luck
called the
out.
Penguins
Luck
for any
out.
winners this year when they got Wendy?
Listen, man, I'm not gonna. No shame in the game. I'm not gonna fault you. And if I'm in your shoes, I'm taking it.
Oh, heck
And if
yeah.
I'm in your shoes, I am selling it like it's totally legit. If I was a San Francisco Giants fan, Barry Bonds just has great vitamins.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will accept whatever lies. It doesn't matter. Like I will lie to myself all day until I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, he was skinny when he played in Pittsburgh. That's all I'll say.
he was still the thing with him though. I'll say he was still a Hall of Fame player anyway.
Absolutely.
Like he all you did was take a Hall of Fame talent and put him in God mode. Like you put in a cheat code. It made him ridiculous, but he was a Hall of Famer either way. Like his thing is silly. I was like, guys, he was Hall of Famer anyway. He was Hall of Fame before.
It was all that Ghirardelli chocolate he was eating.
Better living through medicine, my friends. Better living through medicine.
Yep. What's up, Kenny? Good to see you, brother.
You're a baseball guy first. Mm-hmm. So obviously, your team is your team the San Diego Padres.
No, I just like Soto. I'm a fan. I mean, I enjoy Soto's work. As a young guy with the plate discipline he had, I enjoyed him, so that's why I picked this up. But no, Jays are the only local team that I support. Never was a Leaf guy. The fan base was too obnoxious for me. All I had to do was listen to sports radio a couple of times, and I'm like, no, I'm not involving myself in this idiocy.
Yeah,
hell no, thank you. I'll pass. So when it came around, the Medano thing came around because as soon as I'm like, all right, this team is full of losers and this fan base sucks, so I'm not associating myself with this garbage. So I'm like, all right, I'm a free agent. I'm gonna figure this out. Let me take my time and I'll figure this out. And I just like Medano's skill set. I saw highlights and I'm watching this young guy flying from one end of the ice to the other because he had wheels. It was the skill and the wheels. He was so fast.
Oh yeah.
And great slap shot, great wrist shot, amazing control, and just could skate like the wind. You know, the jersey flaps behind him. And I'm like, this dude's great. I'm enjoying it. I was like, all right, this is my dude. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened, my timing could not have been better. I started collecting him in 95. That team hits the ascend and wins the Stanley Cup in 98. I'm like, perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nailed it.
There you go. That's what's up. I always kind of liked him because he always seemed like one of the better players that was in the league that would actually make it to Team USA. That was kind of what triggered the isn't he an American guy, because like all of the guys I normally followed were going to, like Russia or Canada or like any number of like places like
Czechoslovakia.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you have Yarmer Yager there too. Let's not forget JJ.
Yep.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh.
I think his career arc is always interesting to me because I think he wound up. Fact check me on this exact, but I think he wound up with around the same amount of career goals as Guy Lafleur, an all-time elite goal scorer. So he was right in that same range. I think 560-ish goals. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting about that is he was an offense-first guy. He was a sniper at first. Mm-hmm. Then Ken Hitchcock, with his style, his system that he wanted to do, he goes, "You're going to have to be a two-way forward." So he says, "Change your game. Tone the offense down. I want you to use your speed and play defense." So he became a great two-way player, but he cranked down the offense. And he still has the most American goals and the most American points, and he cranked the offense down, hit the dial down. I'm like, he put the brakes on, and he still almost scored 600 goals. Imagine if they had just said, "No, you know what? Do the Pavel Bure. I don't care about defense. Go for it."
True.
Would have been interesting. Would have been a very different style. But they won a Stanley Cup for it and got to another one right after that, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
Results.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's more about like what you actually do than like what your numbers actually show. Yeah. There's tons of players out there that I can like basically say, yeah, that guy is like considerably better than like his career numbers would indicate, just based on what he actually means to the team, like the dirty work he puts in. Like even like basketball wise, you think of like a Draymond Green who like that dynasty probably doesn't exist without him, but he's probably the least sexy part of it at the same time.
Yeah. I don't think you can complain too much. His number's retired in Minnesota. It's retired in Dallas. They have a lot of love and respect for him in both places. That Detroit experiment, that 1 year in Detroit, wasn't so good, but it
Mhm.
was part of his career. It's a footnote at the end of his career.
Yeah,
I blame Babcock for that one. Not so great.
absolutely. Yeah, there's tons of good players that ended up going somewhere for like a year or two at the end of their career, and it's just like a footnote, but it like doesn't really define them. I think of Montana on the Chiefs. Where it's
Mm-hmm.
like no one in their right mind outside of like a Kansas City Chiefs fan, like even like really regards him as a Chiefs quarterback.
See, visual aids. Your timing was good. This actually came in the mail today.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah, we
really
gotta
Wow.
do
cool.
them. We gotta
Is
do
that
them
a
timely.
leaf
Yep.
one or what
Yep,
sets
that's a
that
leaf
up?
metal. This was
Nice.
a subject of a couple of videos where I talked about it, where I just said like, this one I actually got for $40.
That's awesome.
So the guy pre Brady, who was the GOAT before Brady,
Yep.
4-0 in Super Bowls. By the way, I still
Yep.
think he's better. 4-0. But the point is, like, autograph, yeah, sticker auto. But here's the thing: it's unlicensed. But if you look at the helmet, the angle of the helmet, you couldn't see the logo anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
True.
So it's actually a very smart photo choice. Is like, actually, you could pretty much pull that off. I
Yeah.
was able to show a license card that had a photo that was very similar. I was like, so if I can't see the logo in the license one and I can't see the logo in this one, how is that one supposed to be much better when I literally got that one for $40?
True.
Yeah.
And it's still the same signature. And sometimes the leaf cards are actually better eye appeal than some of the licensed cards, depending
Yep,
on what
and
set it is.
yeah, and that version of it, the pigskin parallel, whatever Leaf calls it or whatever, that one's out of 5. So it's
Man after my own heart. Brady is a D bag.
look.
Hey,
Ian Fishboy are my two whipping boys on my channel. I'm not going to argue against this.
Yeah,
and
I'm
look,
not a Tom Brady guy either. He's the reason the Steelers don't have more Super Bowls. So
and he's not even the original TB12.
no,
Mm,
that guy's Pittsburgh guy.
you're right. You're right.
Mhm.
Looking at McDonald, the one thing it's hard to believe that it's been 12 years that he's been retired.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mhm.
2011 was his last year, and but it's funny. He's one of those players that it just goes to show you when you look at his career and you look at the influence. He's still, 12 years and being out of the league, he's still, talked about. He's still looked at,
Yeah.
from that
Yep.
standpoint. Very
I
interesting.
agree, Maddie. I mean, from a talent perspective, I think Peyton Manning's one of the best quarterbacks ever. And honestly, I would love to have seen Brady like without any of the cheating or any of like the shady stuff that happened. Like, would he still have won that many Super Bowls? Like, he's still
Look, fire,
good.
fire
Like,
starter.
he's
Look,
not
all
a
I'm saying is
bum.
fire starter. Fire starter needs to hang out in my chat because I'm all about the Brady slander.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I one of my favorite things in the world is to make the argument. It's like, is he even an athlete?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, forget about GOAT. It's like,
Yeah.
is he even good? Is he though? I did this to one of my buddies, a good friend of mine, big Tom Brady fan, and I want to pull the clip. It's in one of my lives, and it's gonna be, if I pull it and I find it, it's gonna be my favorite clip of all time because I literally. I went without barely taking a breath. I went and dissected Brady's entire career and discounted and discredited every Super Bowl he ever won. I literally without missing a beat, and he's big Tom Brady fan, like a legit Tom Brady fan. And he just stood there and he could not even think of a counter. Like I nailed, boom, 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 boom. I discredited every single one of his Super Bowls as if they didn't even matter, as if they didn't even happen.
That's awesome.
And afterwards, he's like, I can't even argue with this. Like, I win. We're done. Brady sucks. Moving on.
You've like totally roasted a player when like a big fan can't even like dispute it.
Because there are little things. It's like I'll say this is if you're a Brady hater, I'll give you guys a tip. Go and I actually watched because I've watched, even though like football is my number one sport, I do enjoy it. I'm a fan of it. I do enjoy it. So I consider myself to be a high end casual fan. Like I'm not just gonna sit there and look at the depth charts and watch the all 22. Like I don't got time for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got 500 videos to make. So
Yeah.
like I got other things I need to be doing. However, I will watch my team's games and I will watch Monday night footballs, Thursday night football, Monday night, Sunday and
Yeah.
Monday night. So I'm watching these games, and Red Zone is my friend. Good
Yep.
times for that. But every single significant Brady game that he had, basically from the Tuck Rule game on, I got a chance to see them all the big games, all the playoff games and everything. So, if you actually watch the games, actually watch them as they happen, you can go back and look, and it's like, You know what? You didn't really ever have a definitive victory in any of those Super Bowl. It was always scraping by the skin of your teeth. One coin flip the other way, and it's like, dude, you're not 7 Super Bowls. You're not 7-3. You're like 3-7. And if you're 3-7, you're not the GOAT. So by factor of a play here, a play there, I still can't explain the Atlanta one. The 28-3, the Atlanta one, and I've made this argument before, and I stand by it. I will be happy to get any of the analytics boys can run these simulations for me. Here's my suggestion: run the analytics, run the simulator, and I want to rerun that game, get to the same point of 28-3, and just program Atlanta to kneel 3 times and punt. And I bet you they still win.
Yeah.
They don't even have to run an offensive play. Kneel 3 times, let the clock run, and punt. And I bet you they win that game. Like in the simulation, 999 times out of 1,000. So how Atlanta did it is actually very impressed. I'm actually impressed that they actively worked to lose that game. It was actually, I was like, how? Guys, how? You're stupid. What's wrong with you?
I couldn't, like, I was like flabbergasted whenever I saw them blow that lead. Like, I mean, granted, like, it's Tom Brady, like, arguably one of the best players of all time, like, coming against them.
I'll argue it. I will argue it. I will argue it in the hills. I will argue it in the depths. I will argue it everywhere there is to be argued. I will argue against this blasphemy.
Hey, I mean, I give him asterisks too. You know what I mean? Like, as a Pittsburgh fan, you know what I mean? Like, there's been plenty of times, like, I could have sworn it was just recently. Big Ben Roethlisberger has a podcast now. He has a YouTube channel called like Channel 7 or something like that. But
okay.
He does this like weekly thing during the season where it's like him and his buddy like drinking beer and like watching football and breaking down like what's happening. And sometimes
I was gonna say until you said watching football and breaking down what's happening, I'm like, I was like, I should get my lawyers on this. It sounds like
he's basically taking.
This sounded an awful lot like my shtick, sir.
Yeah,
sounded an awful lot like my shtick. It's like, I will take Ben Big down.
He was like, let's just replace sports cards with Steelers.
I'm just saying. Look, I'm just saying, Big Ben needs to watch out. Do not mess with my gig.
Yeah. You had it first.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, like they had said something to the effect of there was this guy when they were playing the Patriots that would like run by and like almost like kind of try to steal their signals and like bring them back to Belichick.
Yeah.
And like it's just like it was like not eye-opening, but like normally you don't see people just openly talking about, oh yeah, that team's like full of cheaters, like, and like the actual people that played against them, you know what I mean? So but then again, they're not in the NFL anymore, so they can basically say anything they want and not get crucified for it. So
right. That's the beauty of it. Look, I read the Bill Belichick biography. Interesting read. If you ever like, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating read. Look, in wrestling terms, I'm an Eddie Guerrero guy. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Like, I'm not knocking the cheating. I just think Brady sucks. Like, my argument is actually that he sucks. The cheating is probably the more endearing part to me. Like, I kind of appreciate the cheating. I applaud him for doing it. I just think he's doing it to cover up for the suck. It's cool. I'm cool with the cheating part. That's fine.
I'm cool with it when it's not the Steelers. But I mean, he's probably gotten your team too, Michael, right? With the Jets, didn't he steal a bunch of your playbooks and stuff like that, or your?
Oh yeah, he did. He did all the exact. Did a lot of the exact same stuff and everything. I mean, I don't know. There was too many rule changes because of him and everything like that. Look at it also this way. You have to realize
accurate.
if it wasn't for Mo Lewis taking out Drew Bledsoe, who knows how long Tommy would have had to have sit and if he would have ever got a chance. So unfortunately, the Jets even went ahead and started this whole debacle when Mo Lewis took Bledsoe out.
It's true, but I'll point everything back to the Tuck Rule game.
Yep.
I think that was a BS call, and it basically led us down this path of horror that now we've all had to deal with. But further along, I blame the Seahawks not running the damn ball for bringing the career renaissance. Because again, part of the beauty of torching my Brady fanboy friend is that I was able to point out, it's like, yeah, for a decade he didn't win crap, and then all of a sudden he had this late career resurgence that got him into that GOAT conversation again. And I blame the Seahawks for this. It is the Seahawks' fault. They started it, and then Atlanta continued it, and then this nonsense continued forward. And I'm sitting there like the whole time going, I am denouncing this heresy. All of y'all need to settle down. That lucky bastard has got a short horseshoe. He stole one from somebody. I don't know who, but whoever it is, give it back, because that is BS. All of this is BS. Mm-hmm. And then that the LA Rams one is the LA Rams one. I'm not even counting that. Julian Edelman won the MVP of that Super Bowl. It was one of the most trash Super Bowls of all time. Mm-hmm. The fact that a non-quarterback won that proves how trash this guy is. That means the guy in the parking lot could have been the starting quarterback of the Patriots that year, and they would have won the Super Bowl because the LA played that bad.
Well, then don't forget what, didn't Vinatieri win 2 of them for him in New England?
Yeah. Yeah, for the kicks. Look, all of these jokes and all of these points have been made to discredit everything this man has ever done.
Yeah.
No. I discredited this man's entire life.
I mean,
that. That for some strange reason, Giselle had enough of him.
Look, all I'm saying is that the man will eventually go to Canton, and there's a 50-50 chance I'm going to be there heckling that fool while he's accepting. It's like, you're trash. You were never good. It's like, dude, I'm literally going to Hall of Fame. Nothing. You are nothing.
If you do that, I'm going to come vlog it because I can drive to Canton from here.
I would get so many extra clicks onto the YouTube channel. I could turn into a whole site. And then Brady's just sitting there like, dude, how?
Yeah.
It's like, don't worry, I can make the argument. I can make a very compelling argument discrediting everything this man's ever done.
Tom, grab an avocado ice cream and we'll sit down and chat.
Yeah.
It'll be one of the great debates of all time. It's like, do you realize how much you suck? It's like, but wait, really? It's like, let me explain to you how trash you actually are.
Yeah.
You lucky bastard.
There's a reason you were drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah. And it's based on talent. All I'm saying is when you tried to do the Philly special and you couldn't make an athletic move, that's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. At that point, I'm discounting everything else you're attempting. I don't even want to discuss this. And plus, you lost the Super Bowl to the other Manning brother. I think he's got a losing record against Peyton by the end of it. He's got a losing record against Peyton, a losing record against Eli, a losing record against Cooper, their mom, their dog. Every Manning, there's a politician here called Preston Manning. He's got a losing record against him. Like, it's ridiculous. Anybody named Manning, he's losing to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can do Brady slander all day, boys. I'm really good at it. I've got it down to a science.
So I wanted to ask you another question outside of Tom Brady stuff.
Probably for the best.
In regards to Canada and collecting, obviously, like, hockey's huge there. Is that the biggest sports card market in Canada, or is baseball still kind of big, or like what's like the most popular there right now?
No, hockey by far. Still, I would say hockey by far. A few other sports have made some inroads. Yes, I would say, and it's not baseball. The Jays have a dedicated fan base. I'm one of these sad, poor souls who still appreciate the Jays. But it's hockey first, for sure. But then after hockey, it's become a lot more. Soccer has definitely made some inroads. That's a big one. Some of these other kind of sports have definitely done well. I think football is appreciated. But it's still definitely a hockey country. When I go to the Expo twice a year, that's the big, the Canadian National, if you will, just for the sake of this conversation. When you do the Canadian National version, it's still going to be predominantly hockey. But the other ones have made some inroads. Soccer's definitely made some strong pickup. So to answer that question, it's called Bone Shaker. Nice. It's actually an IPA. One of the local ones. I like to support those guys. And I think those 7.1% is what those ones come out to.
Nice.
We don't do any of that light beer, or as I prefer to call it, water.
So how is when you go to this show and you're talking football, let's say if there's football, is it more NFL or CFL?
NFL. See, I'm in. So you got to remember. So I'll give you guys this. When you're thinking Canada, understand that I'm in Ontario, the most populous province. If you want to make it the equivalent state, whatever you want. But if you think about it in that sense, the rivalries between the different provinces are part of the fun of this country. This country was built on a lot of hilariousness if you study the history, if you really know what it is. But the point is that people in Quebec don't really like Ontario. People in Ontario don't really like Quebec. The West hates all of us. Because, they're always mad. The CFL really is strongest in a few very select markets. Hamilton is Hamilton, which is maybe about 35, 40 minutes from me. They are, and maybe you'll appreciate this. Hamilton's interesting because Hamilton, in certain ways, is almost like our Pittsburgh from back in the day, because they used to be a steel town. That was number one. The color scheme is the same. So the color scheme, the yellow, the gold, and black and all that is the same, or yellow, whatever it is. The color scheme is the same. But the single most hilarious thing, and this is the way I'll answer for Michael's CFL question in a nutshell. Hamilton has this rivalry with Toronto. So we've got the Toronto Argonauts here. The Toronto Argonauts here are a professional football team that goes back to the 1800s. They are one of the longest running professional football teams in all of sports.
Oh, wow.
If you're talking football, they've been around forever. And they've never had an interruption. They continue to exist as a franchise. It's the original franchise without interruption.
Nice.
Which is crazy if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's a rivalry between Hamilton and Toronto. Except the people in Toronto don't really give a crap, and the people in Hamilton obsess over beating Toronto. Except Hamilton hasn't won a Grey Cup since 1999. There's only like 8 teams. There's a 1 in 8 chance to win. Toronto doesn't give a crap. No one here cares, and they won the Grey Cup last year. Do you have an idea? Since I've been alive, they've won like 7 or 8 Grey Cups. No one cares. And Hamilton over there since 1999, they're like, why can't we win? Oh my God. It would be like if the Yankees genuinely didn't give a shit and just beat the Boston Red Sox like a drum. To the frustration of the Boston fans. They don't even care. They beat us every time and they don't even care. We care.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the other guys are like, yeah, we don't really give a shit. Whatever. It's cool, man. Whatever.
Are there CFL cards? Do they make them?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Upper Deck makes them now. Upper Deck is now the licensee. Back in the day, they used to have a company. If you go back to the 90s, there was a company named Jago that made a lot of them. Very basic, very early 90s stuff, like if you think about it. But yeah, there are CFL cards going back to the 50s. If you go back, there are Topps CFL cards that are the same design as the Topps NFL cards. Because if you go back in the heyday, back in the 50s, even into the 70s, the CFL was a legitimate destination for professional football players. Joe Theismann made his bones in the CFL. Warren Moon made his bones in the CFL. So it was a legitimate place, and the salary scales were actually close up until obviously the 80s and the 90s when the gap started growing. But the CFL is a decent game. It's a different game. I've watched enough of it that I can make fun of it without mercy. That's part of the fun. It's like, but I've been a season ticket holder with a couple of the teams. I was at the 100th Grey Cup. The 100th Grey Cup ever.
It's really cool.
Yeah, so I've attended Grey Cup. I've attended every level of playoff there is, regular season, preseason. Even went to visit a CFL preseason game in my alma mater, which is a university stadium which they needed temporarily, so they built it up, and we went and watched the CFL game there. So I've seen plenty of games. So guess what? I get to make fun of it as much as I want. You can't be like, well, you're ignorant. You don't know anything. Yes, I do. I know plenty. Don't worry. I've seen plenty of games, and I'm still going to make fun of it.
Oh, nice. Zach got a CFL card relic in a Walgreens Fairfield box. Awesome.
It's not a bad game, but it's a different game. It's a lot closer to the rugby base. Both sports started in the rugby baseline. CFL still borrows a lot of that. It still has a lot more of the flavor of the old rugby style.
Oh, you said rugby. I'm surprised we haven't heard from Dom yet. Dom is a rugby coach, rugby player.
There's elements of it. Obviously, it's still football, but they got the 3 downs thing. If you go back in NFL's history, though, like the American football thing, at a certain point they made a decision to go to 4 downs. So it's one of those things. Like at a certain point, there was a fork in the road where the 2 sports diverged. There's still elements of it that are similar, but obviously it's different. There is a more kicking element to it. There is a certain element, and they still keep the goalposts inside the end zone. You can run into the goalposts in the end zone. But you could do that in the NFL too, up until a certain point when they moved it back.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like there is a legacy where there's actually parallels to both sports until a certain point where they fork in the road and they went different directions.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I don't know a whole lot about the Canadian Football League outside of like, that there's like, a lot of players that'll go out there to try to make a name for themselves if they don't get drafted. And then oftentimes, based on how well they do out there, they can somehow get picked up by NFL teams or make training camp rosters off of that. But I personally haven't gotten to watch very much of it.
It's fascinating. Like if you want to just sit down, like it within a couple of minutes, you'll realize some of the nuances that are different. There are obviously some rule differences, but it's not like a fundamentally different sport. But obviously, it's not strategy wise. It's different. 3 downs changes the dynamic of how you decide your play selection. It is going to be, and there's a bigger field, longer and wider. So you're going to be a lot more pass happy. There's more movement in it. If you like that, it is going to be a different experience. But there are elements that you can enjoy. Like university football is CFL, 3 down football. So when I watch my old university team play, I'm watching 3 down football. So if I'm going to enjoy what I'm watching there, I got to enjoy the 3 down game whether I like it or not.
So here's a good question. Is wrestling really big in Canada?
Wrestling? Are you talking about like amateur wrestling or wrestling?
I would. Anytime I hear wrestling, I think wrestling. But I mean, I just know of like all of the the Hearts, the Heart Dungeon training all of those people up in Calgary, Alberta. Then I think of all the people that have come from Toronto, like the Jerichos, the Trish Stratuses, Edge, Christian, just like so many like key wrestlers that I grew up watching, like are Canadians. So like, yeah, I would assume that type of wrestling.
You'd be if you go that route, then yes. Look, I'll put it this way. I was at a couple of I've been to a couple of the AEW shows when they crossed the border. They did the Forbidden Door show, and they drew a great house over here in the I want to say Air Canada Center, but they've changed it now. I think it's called Scotiabank, the hockey arena. So they put it in the Leafs hockey arena. They drew a great crowd, great show. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. They've drawn good crowds. Now, they then went on a Canadian tour where they did like 5,000 shows in like 20 minutes. And I was like, guys, there's oversaturation. Like the market is good, but don't like abuse the market and then ask for tickets pricing all the time. But generally speaking, it's a solid show. But here's a bit of a fun trivia fact for you. If you ever get the chance, go look. If you remember ECW. ECW was a niche, but a very passionate fan base. Yeah. They ran a show at what used to be called Hershey Center. It's over in Mississauga. It's in the same city I'm in. They drew, I think, a 10,000 seat crowd for ECW.
Nice.
What does that tell you about people here? Love their wrestling.
For sure.
If you give them a product they're into, Impact actually runs half their damn shows in Ontario. It's hilarious. I didn't even realize where they were running shows, and I was like, "Oh wow, you guys are still running shows over here?" It's like, Jesus, okay.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, wrestling's awesome. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I grew up like loving it. I don't know if you know this, but I actually used to be a professional wrestler with the NWA. Like I never made WWE. Oh, there she is. Yeah, I actually got to meet her once when she came through the Steel City Con. She was pretty cool.
I figured I'd pander. I figured I'd pander. You got to do like the local crowd.
I know. I saw that today and just like drooled all over my phone.
Dude, do you want to see the PMG? I got 2 of them over here.
Yeah.
You got that? Is that the new AEW?
These are the new metal universe. So here are your 2 PMGs.
Oh, those are freaking beautiful.
That'll be on the Instagram later. But look, I'm saving. You got to space it out. I'm not a big fan Instagram wise. I'm not a big fan of putting like 500 posts in a day. Like literally, I'm sitting on these. So now you know. Spoiler. Yeah. I'm actually sitting on these right here. If you watch the YouTube channel, you already know.
Yeah.
But like I've got a pretty good collection of Brit stuff. Like I really do.
You probably have the best collection of Brit stuff.
This one was a cool thing though. I love the fact that Penn State actually had her on the cover of their university magazine.
That is really cool.
So I was like, okay, I got to get a hold of this thing. It's weird, but I'm like, all right, I like it.
Yeah, that's unique. I mean, who else is going to have something like that?
It's fun for me though.
If you don't go to Penn State,
No, but it's like, but I love the fact that if it was a WWE thing, there'd be so many cards it'd be impossible.
Yeah.
Because Upper Deck hasn't released as many products as they should. And I might know some people at Upper Deck that I give a hard time about that too. Allegedly. But anyway, so because they don't release the products fast enough, The good news for me though, as a collector, is it means that I actually have a chance to keep up. I can actually. I'm not going to get everything. I'm not going to get everything. There's no way, and I'm not trying to get everything, but I'll get what I can.
Yeah.
The autograph one there, that is out of 25. So these are actually going to prove pretty tough when the time comes.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a heads up on this one. That's called the competitive advantage. That's one of the inserts in the metal. These are 1
really
in 600 packs.
Wow.
So keep your eyes peeled because that's more than 1 in every 2 cases. Those are tough. Those
That's
are
good
actually
to
gonna be
know. I do a lot of bargain boxing, and I find that like wrestling stuff, I get phenomenal deals. Like normally, it might be like I'm getting cards for $1 that I'm selling for 3. With
Sure.
wrestling, it's like I'm getting cards for like 50 cents or $1 that I'm selling anywhere from like 3, 5, 7, 8, sometimes 10. You know, just because a lot of times I feel like people just undervalue the wrestling.
Sure. Yeah.
Either that or they just don't know it as well as like other mainstream sports. But yeah, that's a good one to look for. Thank you.
Yeah. Player collecting is what I do anyway. So like with Medano and some of the other stuff. So for wrestling, it was natural for me to gravitate towards. I pick a few folks and I try to grab their stuff. But yeah, the Brit one's been fun. That's been my project. That's probably the one that I'm probably closest to completion out of anything because of the amount of cards released. But also, I know that some people want to pay too much for some of the stuff. And Upper Deck, I give them this feedback. They went too hard on the PMGs for the metal product. Obviously, PMGs, I know it's the big thing for sure. But what they did is they did 2 base cards for Brit. So you've got 2 PMGs there. And then they did a retro version. There's another one. But then you've got the red PMGs, the green PMGs set for all 3. And then they did the gold 1 of 1 PMG. So that's 9 PMGs. That's excessive. And 3 of them are 1 of 1s. That's 3 1 of 1s. Like, come on, guys. You're killing me. And then they got plates, and I'm not even counting those, like, for whatever. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not even worrying about that.
Are you a big fan of Upper Deck and like the products they've been putting out lately, as far as like AEW and like some of the other stuff? Like, I don't know if you rip any of the Marvel
hockey.
or hockey. Yeah, definitely hockey with you being over there in Canada.
Right. I like some of the stuff they do. Some of it makes sense. It's hit and miss. There are some sets and some cards where it's like, I understand what you were trying to do. I get what you were trying to do, but you're trying too hard. That'd be my opinion. That'd be the way that I would put it. And I've got some buddies who work there, so and they get that feedback directly from me. I'd be like, I think you pushed too hard. I think it's too much. I just looked at it. I think the checklist for metal, the checklist for Brit is like 30, almost 40 cards.
Wow.
Is it
Not
really?
counting 1 of 1s. And I'm like, guys, really? Come on, you're killing me. What are you doing? And it's like, this one's out of 25. This one's out of 25. I'm like, really? Like, that's not even fair. There's challenging, and then there's unfair. And
Right.
you're getting right into unfair. You're pushing right up against that line. I would argue it's unfair. Those PMGs are. I wanted to grab a couple to make sure I have them. There's going to be some that are going to come in e-pack. If you're patient, there's a good chance you're going to be able to get them cheaper than I did. But some folks are probably going to overpay for a few. So it's going to be a mixed bag.
Yeah, for sure. Did they do that with all the people in the set, or was it mainly just like the bigger wrestlers like Britt and like MJF, like those type of people, or does everybody have that many different PMGs?
So what happened is they did a low numbered and a high numbered.
Okay.
The high numbered is what created that extra. So they were going to do, anybody who was in the base set got 3 PMGs. You got a red. Oh, sorry, actually, let me correct myself. You got a red, you got a green, and you got a gold. But if you were also in the 50 card retro set, then you get another set of them. Red, green, gold, same thing. And then if you happen to be in the high number one, well, guess what? You get a third set of them. So Britt is one of those folks that is in high number, low number, and retro. So they basically put her on almost every checklist. So if there's a parallel, like that autograph I showed you was the parallel of Intimidation Nation. Intimidation Nation is a nice set, but then they have the autograph version. And then for some of those other sets, they've got this is the gold version out of 25. And then I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, they're all doing it. I mean, Panini was doing it, with all their stuff. You try and do a rainbow of somebody, for crying out loud. It's like some of them like a 90 card set. If you're trying to do a damn rainbow of one player, because you have, the blue wave, the blue prism, the blue star, the blue disco, and then those are numbered, and yeah, I mean, it's just crazy stuff.
I used to try to do it for every team I PC'd, and then I was like, I'm literally going to go bankrupt buying cards that are worth nothing if I do this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out there trying to get every parallel of Jetty Osman, who's like, was a backup for the Cavaliers. He's not even with the team anymore. It's like, thank God I didn't finish that frame, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Well, that's the reason why, like I said, I'm enjoying it for now because Upper Deck is only releasing a certain amount of sets. I'm not worried about trying to complete it. It isn't. But I'm gonna try to get the ones that I can. And if there's some of the rare, that's why I gave you the heads up on that competitive advantage. Those ones will be a little sneakier because there's no parallel version. It's 1 in 600 packs. That's a tough one. The Jambalaya is 1 in 720 packs, so that's 1 in 3 cases. So that's going to be a tough one. But everybody will know that one. The competitive advantage is a little bit sneaky because it's a little easier, but it's harder than 1 per case. So it's like it'll just slip under the radar for some folks. They won't realize it. And it's like, no, keep your eyes open. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. That's huge, though. Like, I mean, be able to find a case hit like that, like, and a lot of people, like you said, probably don't know because it doesn't have some kind of crazy parallel or something to it. They probably just think it's a insert or something like that.
The only thing I wouldn't do though is I wouldn't overcommit. If you have to find a price point you're comfortable with, because what's going to happen when EPAC hits, a bunch of them are going to get dumped on the market.
Oh, I'm sure.
There'll be a ton, and because I'll give you an example. I've got the searches, the safe searches, where I scan them every day or a couple times a day. I haven't seen one of the autographs yet, for like the base autograph. So like I showed an autograph there, but that's an autograph parallel to one of the inserts. There's a base autograph. I haven't seen one yet. They should be out there, but in reality, I should have had a harder time finding this one. But the base autograph I haven't seen yet.
Wow.
Might just but then EPAC shows up. How much you want to bet? EPAC shows up and all of a sudden it's like autograph. Really? Okay.
Orlando.
What's up, Orlando? Good to see you, brother.
Well, what's the EPAC?
So it's digital packs that Upper Deck does. What they did is they took a certain amount of the allocation of the print run and they put it through the EPAC platform. It lets you open up the packs digitally, which is a smart way for them to make a lot of money, no middleman. And they base the prices, box prices, and pack prices based on what the current market rate is. Although, what's going to be interesting for me, this is what I'm curious about. I think those boxes are not getting opened as much as they should be, because I think that a lot of the hype died. PMGs are not saving it. I've been able to buy PMGs for $20.
The only people I've even really heard talking about EPAC at all are like Marvel collectors. You know what I mean? Like where I've seen like them like maybe either opening something online or just talking about EPAC. But as far as like regular like hobby stuff I listen to, as far as like sports cards, I don't hear too many people mention it. I don't know if it's because I don't watch too many hockey channels or anything that outside of like AEW, obviously, that would be Upper Deck or whatever. But yeah, so maybe that's why. But yeah, it's interesting.
I think what it's going to come down to though is I'm worried that the EPAC prices are going to be too high. But some folks are going to open it anyway because it feels like, again, they're supposed to randomize it, and I know some of the folks that are there, they're not going to intentionally try to stack one or the other because it's a bit of a problem the way they do it. But what's going to happen is there's going to be a feeling once they'll start getting open that all of a sudden you're going to start seeing a bunch of those hits. Suddenly a bunch of those PMGs will suddenly appear. The green PMGs, the gold PMGs, the autographs, some of the higher end autographs. So it's like, okay, great. Why are you getting all these hits? Somebody goes like, oh, I bought 3 packs and PMG. Something like that will happen. They'll be like, really?
Well, that is in lieu of an actual printed card, meaning if there is 3 PMGs of one person, if one of those is an EPAC, then there's only 2 physical cards.
Nope. All the inserts are real cards. That's the thing. When you open an EPAC thing, the base cards are digital. There are things you can do actually to upgrade them, so to speak. That's going to happen. But all the inserts, you can transfer over to ComC and have them shipped to yourself. They're all physical.
Interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's what Ziggy was just saying in the chat.
So you're going to see a bunch of stuff. So I'll give you an example. These ones I grabbed 2 just because they were so cheap. So I grabbed 2 of the Serena Deeb.
Oh, nice.
I didn't even need to, but one of them was literally $20 Canadian. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, you can't pass that, especially on a PMG.
It was too cheap, and it was in Canada, and the shipping was cheap too. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll grab it. I didn't even need a second one. But what's going to happen is some folks are going to pull some of that stuff on ePack and then transfer it over to comp. But what's going to happen is because there's a time delay, the physical product comes out, retail comes out, and then ePack comes out like a month and a half, 2 months later. It's already, the hype is already slow on this product. Then you wait another month or two, and then you've slowed it even down more. So you're gonna have some people that are gonna open some packs and just dump it on ComC, and probably you'll be able to get it for pennies on the dollar.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize that these were cards that became real cards. I thought that they were basically digital cards, like almost like
Yeah.
an NFT type thing.
The base are digital. You can do something to make real cards that are a little more limited, but all the inserts are real. So
That's
what
really
happens
cool.
is you can pull really good cards, autographs, memorabilia if applicable, or inserts or whatever, and then go send it to ComC and then ship it to yourself when you're ready.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
you, Ziggy, because I had no idea. Like, if Carlos hadn't brought that up, I would have literally just been thinking, okay, this is just some digital card. Like, this actually makes me want to get ePack now because I can potentially pull something big and actually redeem the card. So that's huge.
Yeah, you just have to be careful though. That's it. I'm worried about what the pack price is actually going to be because they try to not undercut their dealers. Look, I've got some friends who have shops who bought from wholesalers, so they've got allocation that they're sitting on right now. And I ask them, I say, "Hey, is it moving?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "All right, so when we get to Expo, if you still got it, let's talk. Let's talk. I might just buy it, but it's like I am buying at fire sale price, my man. Sorry." I can wait. That'll be November. I got time. I'm patient. If it's still there by November and you haven't sold through it,
So Ziggy says there's a free ePack every day.
yeah, there's the digital ones. You can get those. Those ones I think are only digital.
Okay.
But you can. There is a thing in there. But as I say, like it's a mix
Pretty
and
cool.
match. Look, I'll agree with Ziggy on this one thing specifically. The marketing is bad on it. It's more complicated than it needs to be, and there's not good enough information to explain it. Like I can explain it to you, but then I'll be like, grab your notepad and take notes because it's going to take me a minute. And
For
you might
sure.
need to make some diagrams. It's a little bit more complex than it should be.
Oh, wow.
You can turn in 25 base cards for a black version of that card, which is SP. That's really cool, actually. That actually gives you a
of them, that's
reason to
true.
collect base cards.
Yeah, for some of them that's true, and for some of the so like the hockey products, it's 5. You can do
Nice.
5 and turn that into a either a sparkle or a gold version. So for AW, for example, you open them up, you get 5 base cards. I think it's 5. It's 5 or 10. It's less than 25, but it's 5 or 10, and then you can turn that into a gold card, and that one is a little bit lower print run than the normal base card.
But that's all digital.
The base cards are all digital, and then you can convert it into a card, which would be physical. The inserts are physical.
That's really cool. He says if you collect enough free, you can get a real pack. That's pretty cool.
You'd have to get quite a number. Yeah.
So the hockey people are going to go crazy with Connor Bedard.
Yeah. That's going to be the next one.
When he has his card out. Holy, yeah, wow.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So as far as grading in Canada, I wanted to touch base on that a little bit too. I know that
Sure.
you've worked a little bit with PSA Canada, and I've actually even had Crosby rookies by KSW or KSA, whatever they are.
Okay, say yeah, sure.
So like I'm familiar with a couple other graders over there. KSA is really the only one that rings a bell off the top of my head, but
Sure.
but yeah, so what's the landscape like over there? Is it still kind of like it is over here in the States where PSA is kind of like the king by a wide margin? And then do you guys still deal with like other third-party US graders like SGC or Beckett or CGC or any of them? Or do you mainly go PSA or like the other Canadian graders from what
So
you see?
I don't just get any graders with a 50-foot pole. The two big ones are KSA and MNT. So Mint or MNT, whatever they call it. KSA is pretty much trash, but like they're able to do certain things. The way I phrase it is they're good cards that are in KSA holders, and there are questionable cards that are KSA holders. Be it grading, they overgrade some stuff by quite a bit, but they've also been around a long time. I think KSA started in '96, so they've actually had a long track record. They've done well, like for the amount of time they've been existing. So it's a credit to them for that, and they do on-site grading at the expo for years, and they've done very well with that, which is insane. Like I think the last expo there was $50 a card. I'm like, $50 a card for KSA.
Wow.
I wouldn't, but people do it, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, man, like cool, fair enough. All right, what you do you. PSA is probably the biggest one. It helps a lot. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what PSA Canada was and what it is now, because it's changed. It's not the same as what it was. PSA Canada used to be called Platinum Promotions. That was the history, going back to the 90s. So this is going back a ways now. But they were nicknamed PSA Canada for the longest time because they had a good relationship. But they were a bulk submitter. They were just a bulk submitter the same way that any of the other bulk submitters are, that you can local bulk submitter, whoever you got. I think in the US you got golf baseball cards. They do a lot of that stuff. So bulk submitter, same idea. But they fostered a good relationship over a long period of time. The owner there was doing it for a long time. And then right around before the pandemic started, Brad Hartland, who I've done business with, I did submissions back then with the previous owner, and then Brad took it over, and he grew the relationship even closer. So still bulk submitter, but they were even closer in terms of that. They started going in terms of being able to use the PSA domain and a lot of those aspects of it, but it was still two companies because because collectors didn't own it. So that's an important distinction because it's still operating as a separate entity. Today, as of a little while ago, Brad announced officially that PSA Canada is PSA. PSA is Canada, Canada PSA, etc. It's under collectors. So collectors owns the thing lock, stock, and barrel. All the social medias and everything related to are all PSA. It's all collectors. Nat Turner is on that org chart now. So
Nice.
it works on that way. So that is different than what it was before. That's changed. So when I was working with them, it was still under Brad was the one in charge of it. Brad is still in charge of the Canadian side of things. And what he's doing now is he's setting up a network of authorized dealers. So again, similar concept to what you expect to, but it's under the Real Collectors umbrella. So that's kind of how that works. So the thing that PSA Canada did in the past, and what they'll still do now, is that they were able to strike good deals with customs. That's really the big thing for us. It's shipping and customs is the big deal. Because otherwise, you could create your own, you could get your own account with collectors. You could go join the collectors club and just submit the card yourself. Like, you always could do that. You could do that back in the day too. But it was customs that killed you every time, customs and shipping. So what they did is they streamlined that process by being able to submit your stuff at different levels, and you can consolidate it. The consolidation is a big thing for us because anytime we cross border, it's customs that kills us almost every time.
Yeah,
That's where we start using those services. So today you'll still be able to do that, but obviously now it's under the collector's auspices, so they do their stuff. So that's the biggest difference. The other graders have certain arrangements, but they do a lot of them through distributors. I think Grosvenor is a distributor here. I think they do Beckett, and I think there's somebody else that does SGC. CGC, I think, is Grosvenor as well, or it might have been. I think it is now. So they've got that as well, and that's how you do it. So yes, you can submit to any one of the main four graders that you want, but you got to go oftentimes to somebody else to facilitate the customs piece. Otherwise, you're going to be paying a fortune in customs.
That makes a lot of sense. But it's cool to see that PSA's like making their, like, I guess, presence official, like instead of it just being like an outsourced presence, or like, no, like this is officially the same PSA. And it's making like, because I did listen to your show where Brad was kind of discussing a lot of it, and it's really cool that like they're like, yeah, if you still want to just send your cards, like you could, God bless you, but like we want to try to make it easy for Canadian collectors to actually be able to grade cards affordably and not have it be a huge pain in the butt. Because like me, just like for me, like within the same country, it's not a huge ordeal because it's basically the same as if I was sending a card to Michael's house. But for you guys, it's like a whole nother layer of stuff because now you have to deal with like customs and all that other stuff. So that's just really cool that they went through all that effort to like really make it more attainable for Canadians to send.
Well, I think that's fair, but it's also like let's face it, it's not altruistic. It's the bottom line of business. The last expo was still operating as a bulk submitter, they took in 20,000 cards in that weekend, just that weekend.
Wow.
So you just have to think about that. And again, and somebody could go like, oh, but the national did it. Remember, we're 1/10 the size of your market.
Yeah.
To be equivalent, you'd have to take in 200,000 cards in a weekend. So get your head around that. And when we're submitting a ton of cards over again, that's one weekend, one show, one bulk submitter. So now you project that out over the course of the year. How many cards did they take in? A lot. And then, multiply by 10. An American bulk submitter to do the same kind of business would have to 10x that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of damn cards. So the way you got to look at it is that collectors isn't stupid. They realize like there's an opportunity there to make that work for them. I was curious because it was going to be a will there, won't there. My stuff that I was doing with them was based on the idea that as long as Brad was running it, he owned it, lock, stock, and barrel, and I'm working with them, that's fine. But then when collectors ran it, and this conversation we had long before, because we figured that was a possibility. I said, if collectors takes it over, I'm not morally opposed, but then we have a handshake deal, but if collectors takes it over, it's going to require a contract. Otherwise, I'm not doing it because it makes no sense because I'm not going to afford it. So I'm sorry. If you want me to promote that, because in this space, if you're doing YouTube and you're promoting any grader specifically, that's tough. But when I'm doing business with a company that is a bulk submitter, that's a business, a family-owned business, I don't mind so much. Right. And I didn't promote it on my channel, but I had Brad on, and we did stuff on their channel that they had. But now Collectors owns that. So if we were going to do anything, Collectors would have to sign off on it. And if they're going to sign off on anything, well, then I'm sorry, you're cutting me a check then.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we were always very upfront about it. We talked about it long before. That's why I suddenly stopped making videos on the PSA Canada channel. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm sure that. Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool though. That I didn't even realize that you were the one making the videos for PSA Canada. Like
I went in on the channel. I hosted the show with them, and we did that because we thought it'd be good to have something fun that would be a little bit different. Now the funny thing is, on that channel, we actually talked about the other graders. That's how you know. That's how you know it's not. That's how you know collectors didn't own it. We could actually acknowledge SGC. We could even talk about CGC. And on that show, I could say like I actually like the CGC holders. My favorite. Like if you're talking the holders, I like the CGC holder. That's my favorite of them.
For sure.
I will send in cards to PSA because it makes sense for certain parts of my collection or flipping cards or whatever the case may be. That makes sense. SGC I think is legit. I think they're good at what they do. I hate the holder. Beckett, I hate it even more. And I think Beckett is running a very strange business. I don't understand what they're doing. But
I don't know how they're still grading cards. Like who's sending cards to Beckett like in 2023? Like I don't even see like reveals on YouTube hardly ever.
And somehow they did like 75,000 last month.
That's insane.
I don't know who sent it in. Like there's some basketball guys that are still doing it, but that was the
key. Aren't they caring more about the autograph piece? Isn't Beckett more from that standpoint?
It could make sense. I mean, like
time.
I could see sending like a Kobe refractor or something that you don't want to like, because they have that UV protection in their slab. But beyond that, it's like, man, why the hell would you ever send anything to Beckett outside of like wanting that UV protection or that like thick slab?
Probably because it's the closest competitive pricing to PSA from a value standpoint, right? Don't people still look at Beckett if they're looking at prices? Beckett is still the tier just below PSA.
It's like 3 tiers below now.
I don't know that
a BGS 9.5. A BGS 9.5. A BGS 9.5 is if you want a bargain. Like you can get a really cheap card relative. The gap has grown a lot.
Oh wow!
Like it's like Beckett does not get respect anymore. Some of the old basketball guys are diehard about it.
Yep.
But if you put a PSA 10 and a BGS 9.5, again, I'm not necessarily going to pay a PSA 10 premium to be fair.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the two side by side, it's like I'll give you like half for the BGS 9.5.
Yeah, it's like PSA 9 pricing for the most part.
Yeah, like it's not even close. Like but that's what the market will bear. Like if you put it in open auction, you're going to struggle to sell the card.
Right.
That's a big part of it. I'll give you a quick story though, if you want a Beckett one. That's always one of my favorites.
Yeah, sure.
I always try not to pick on any of the graders specifically, unless I have personal experience. If I have personal experience, then I'll pick on them as much as I want.
Yeah.
I submitted years ago through Grosvenor because I said Grosvenor did the bulk submitting with Beckett back in the day. I did a couple of graded cards vintage cards with Beckett for the BVG is what they have for the vintage. This is years ago now, but I submitted a 55 Topps Koufax, a couple of Manals, and some stuff like some vintage cards that I had in my collection. I got back the order. It was okay in terms of timeline pricing. It was fine, but whatever. So I get the cards back and I start looking through them, and I start laughing because I start going through them and looking at them. They couldn't figure out that Sandy Koufax is not Mickey Mantle, and that Mickey Mantle's not Sandy Koufax, because they flipped almost the entire order. All the labels were wrong, and I'm sitting there like, I have a fantastic Mickey Mantle that looks like a 55 Topps rookie of Sandy Koufax. You idiots can't even get the label right. It was actually very impressive. I was legitimate. Now, today it'd be like, oh man, make a video and like rant about it for 20 minutes. It's like, I went to them as like, hey, can you fix this? Now, this is what kind of ended me with Beckett. I went over to them at the next thing, and I said, hey, can you fix this? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a mistake. And we'll charge you the reholdering rate. And I'm like, you screwed it up. I'm not paying to reholder this shit.
Right.
What the hell's wrong with you? You want me to pay for you to fix your own mistake? You're out of your damn mind, is what you are.
That's insane.
It was like, no, if you can't figure out Mickey Mantle and Sandy Koufax, you're two different people, even though it says the name on the front of the card.
Yeah.
I can't help you. This conversation's over, sir. Good day.
Do you think they would want to fix that? You think they'd pay you to fix that? That they don't have something that makes them look moronic out there in public?
Yeah, and I showed it on my live a couple of different times. But eventually, I just cracked them out and swapped them out to PSA. A couple of them I sold off, and a couple of them I kept. But I was like, guys, really? The name is on the front of the damn card. Where's your QC? The name's on the front of the card. Grading standards, you want to argue about grades and stuff. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the name is on the front of the card, and you can't even get the label right. Come on.
True. This is a good question by Jay. Like, how scientifically based are the claims about the UV protection in different company slabs? I honestly don't know. I basically just take Beckett's word for it. Like,
Jay's a smart dude. Jay's one of my guys. Jay's a smart dude. He knows his stuff. He's right. Yeah. But look, that's the reason why I like making fun of another grader who I talk about posters. AI grading bullshit. So anyway, you can make any claim you want, and the beauty of it is good marketing is that you can make a claim. I take all that with a grain of salt. You have to take it with a grain of salt. So I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it has some UV protection, but yeah, you'd have to have somebody independently test it. That'd be the only way to be like comfortable. I would never accept it, what they're saying to me about that, unless someone did an independent test. That's just the way I would phrase that.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, as far as like what he was saying, as far as the UV protection, like I've actually targeted slabs on eBay, like my LeBron Topps Chrome rookie. Not only was it a value getting a BGS 9 instead of a PSA 9, but like I was thinking if it actually does have UV protection, like, okay, my LeBron Chrome rookie is not going to like get messed up, because like I'd like to display my cards and stuff. And, like I have lights on and stuff like that. And I don't want anything to like, ever make it look like worse than what it actually, did whenever it got graded. So, but yeah, I mean, like there really is no actual evidence behind it outside of them just claiming that they have UV something or another in their slab.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And just like Zach says, yes, subgrades are cool. I believe they're the only major grader that still has subgrades, because CGC did away with them, I believe.
Yep, they dropped them. They ran their data and they came to. I think there's definitely an audience for subgrades, but there's a lot of other folks that don't enjoy it. They don't like it. It just depends. It's your personal preference, right? That's the way I would put it. Is that the subgrades don't do much for me, but I'm also not against them. Like if they do a good job with them, why not? But I think what Beckett screwed up is that they charge you extra for it. Yep. Like, I don't want to pay extra. No, I'm paying you a grading fee. Put the damn subgrades on it. I'm not paying you extra for that. No, thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's dumb that they do that. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that it might take them a little bit more time to like actually add that to the label or for the grader to like assess specifically what the subgrades are or whatever. But
Yeah.
if you like want something to set you apart, like add the value, don't charge us for it. Like in my opinion, at least, because I feel like we're upcharged in every. Like, I think most people are actually used to being upcharged, basically with like nothing against PSA, but like you get upcharged for almost everything via them. Like if you have a card that's like super expensive and you get a good grade, it's like worth more, so they're going to charge you more on your grading fee or whatever, or might push you up a submission level or or whatnot. I think that because a lot of these companies have already gotten the consumer so accustomed to the upcharge or whatever, I think that's why a lot of them continue to do it.
For sure. Look, all I'll say is this, because there's always one of my favorite things for the time on the live stream, and then when I did the PSA Canada thing, a lot of folks were like, "Oh, but you're not just blankly defending PSA." It's like, well, why would I? Um,
Yeah.
here's the thing: I don't necessarily agree with upcharges, but I also don't have a problem with them doing it. If you when you're going in, it's not like they're hiding it from you.
Yeah.
They're putting in these price numbers and whatever. If your card crosses this threshold, and that's why I say like to each their own.
Yeah.
I know that when I go to the expo, if you walk in, the first thing they're going to say is, by the way, yours is on borderline here. If this goes up a grade, it's going to get hit to this level. So they basically just tell you up front, by the way, there's a good chance if it stays at this condition, it'll be under this level. But if it gets bumped to this level here, this condition here, it will cross the threshold into the next level. So just consider the possibility that you might have to pay more because that upcharge will be there. So I don't have to agree with upcharges, but it's not like they hide it from you. It is right there in black and white if you look at the different tiers that are on there. And if you sit there going like, "Oh, I didn't think there would be an upcharge," well, what you thought is irrelevant. It was right there in black and white on the screen. So you made a decision where you took your chances. You flipped the coin.
Yeah. So Ziggy was asking, isn't BGS the only one to wrap the card in plastic inside the slab? I think they're the only one that uses like a penny sleeve type thing inside their holder. But Jay did bring up a good point. There are some cards, and I think they're the ones that are either undersized or oversized that have kind of like the shrink wrap type thing inside. Like,
yeah,
I've
seen tobacco cards with that. Tobacco cards have that.
Yeah, I was gonna say my Walt Disney rookies like that, and then I also have a relic, like a thick like RPA that's like that as well.
Right.
So I think it's basically just to make sure the card doesn't like move or whatnot in their holder. But as far as like every single card, I think Beckett's still the only one that does that.
To my knowledge, I think that's right.
Well, Ziggy, I think that the love for SGC is the price, and I mean there are a lot of people who watch Pete on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. He's a very personable guy.
Yeah, I personally think
that draws people. It doesn't make a difference whether it's right or wrong, or or people are dumb for doing it that way. I just think that's one of the things that happens. I mean, look, hey, when we went to the Nationals and we hung out at the PSA, the SGC booth, it was one of the things that drew us to, liking them the way they were and all that kind of stuff. I mean, to me, right now, I still think, if it's I'll send more PC type cards to SGC, because of the the value if I want to flip a card. But I think that's one of the pulls to SGC, personally.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to have, Zach, is the subgrade, just so you have an idea, kind of what went wrong with the card, like if it's lower than you thought, or even if it is like a true gem, like they have the if you have all 495s, or like the subgrades actually do count for resale value amongst like certain Beckett collectors. Like some people actually do care what they come out as.
I'm glad you make the distinction, Beckett collectors. So the three guys are they're very keen on that. Yeah. It's like I'm like, subgrades or no subgrades, dude. What's the thing? It's like, I'll give you 50%. That's all I can. Sorry.
Yeah, and honestly, like for me, like being somebody that's trying to collect the card, it's attractive to me to be able to get the exact same card at like a lesser price.
Agreed.
You know what 100%. I mean?
Look, all I'll say is this: I think, regardless of which grader you prefer, and we can have preferences for different reasons, and I always try to present it this way, they're different tools for different jobs. I think there's a place for a lot of these depending on what you're trying to do. That's why I always say, like, I use PSA quite a bit because it works for me. But if I go on ComC, I use CGC a lot. because I like the holder. So if it's a PC
Yeah.
card, I actually like the holder. I like the clarity of it and everything.
Yeah.
So but Carlos, why would you do that? It's like, because now that you can do PSA through ComSy, and it's like, because I like the holder. And if it's a PC card, I actually just want it in the holder I want it in. If
Right.
I want to maximize resale value, then yes, I will use PSA. If I just, certain cards maybe make sense in SGC and the quick turnaround and everything might work for you. So there's a reason where you'd use that. Beckett is if you like pain.
Yeah.
So there's another reason. There's a reason you might do that. You enjoy pain. That's the thing.
For sure. I still think SGC is probably held in a higher esteem than HGA. Although I feel like they probably could have been in a similar kind of situation if there wasn't so much like internal turmoil over there with the company, with like the CEO stepping down and like all like the crazy claims and stuff. And it just seems to me like they were mismanaged or whatnot.
HGA literally couldn't authenticate cards.
Yeah.
They came up with a list of cards they couldn't grade because they couldn't do it. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed. Look, HGA was fun for me because it was a lot of this. I like to poke fun at Zach talks about the tag thing. And Zach is one of my regular guys. He knows. Like it's not a joke. I literally have a tag as a coaster. I literally use it as a coaster. I literally put my drink on it. So I have much love for AI overlords. But the thing is that what's funny is I went back in the old videos and the jokes that I was making about HGA were the same jokes I make about tag.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you have not proven to me that you're capable of doing the job that you're claiming you're doing. I don't care about the AI or not AI. But at the same time, though, HGA then screwed up. And there was a procession of screw ups. So they go, so you just confirmed a lot of the questions that I had, because authentication is a really important part of this thing. Whether you like the holder, don't like the holder, custom labels, all that stuff's cool and all. I don't care. You need to be able to do the basic job. If you cannot do the basic job of authenticating the card, this conversation's over.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I
Good.
don't know. I mean, I you get what you pay for of the SGC. I think, I don't know. I guess when I look at it from that standpoint of is again, I understand Pete's not an owner, but what does that matter? He's the, I don't know if is he the president, the spokesman, whatever you call him, whatever you want to call him.
So he's the CEO now.
He's the CEO now?
Yeah, he was the president, now he's the CEO. Yep.
All right. I mean, so he's running the show. And
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, look, grading is so subjective to begin with. I mean, there's just as many people that can't stand grading. Well, I should say there's so many more people who don't like grading than I think those that do. To me, if you like the way the slab looks, it all boils down to what's the card for you. If it's a card that you want to flip, we all know that you have to put it in a PSA slab. It's going to get you the biggest return. If it's going to be, a card that you're going to have in your PC and you just want it protected, slab who you want to slab with.
That's the comment of the night, probably. He says, tag is sexy, so are strippers, but I don't bring either home. Touche.
Right. I mean, but why? Is it because they're using, AI to grade?
I think a lot of people don't like, I mean, I don't want to say a lot of people, but the people that don't, for the most part, like tag or whatnot, it's either because they don't like the AI grading or they probably don't like that they're not PSA or Beckett or SGC.
Hey, don't limit me. I got more. It's like the Brady thing. I got more options.
I'm sure you do. I'm just saying,
I got more options to hate on them.
As far as, because KSA, they do very well, as you were saying, in Canada. You know what I mean?
Despite my complete lack of understanding.
I'm sure companies like Tag can do very well for themselves, because there's always going to be somebody that's going to be like, hey, I love their slab. It looks really good. Or I like the AI grading. Or I like X, Y, and Z. Or maybe they even like Jeremy Lee and his channel. And so they send it.
Oh, that's true. That obviously that's a very good point.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of reasons that people might send a tag. You know what I mean? And You know, it really might be like they want a full report, you know, but there's plenty of reasons not to. Like, for example, like me personally, right now, the only place I'm sending my cards is PSA because most of the stuff I'm sending, I'm trying to flip, you know,
Right.
and if you
Yeah.
want to flip stuff, like you're losing money if you don't send it to PSA.
Right. Well, I think you're looking like you're looking for your use case. That's why I said that's why I gave the analogy about a tool for the job.
Yeah.
For me, I look at maybe I'll put it this way. This will be the let me do this in the nicest way that I can because Jay, and a couple of the regular guys that are they know I could slander Tag even harder than I could slander Brady, and I could do it for longer. Okay, but let me be nice. Let me be nice. Here's the nice version. I don't like being a guinea pig for an unproven technology. The thing is, you use the phrasing, but the problem is they say they're using AI technology. They say they're, doing all this thing. Again, I'm back to independent. Back to the UV coding conversation we just had a couple minutes ago. I understand what you said. I would like it to be shown and proven independently. I don't care what you told me until someone verifies it independently. Runs some tests, does a couple of things. I'm going to treat it as marketing copy. How's that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it
because
makes
I could say
sense.
I have AI grading too, and it doesn't mean, and it just means I wrote some stuff over there and just printed something out for you. It doesn't mean it's true.
True. I would like to see somebody that has AI grading like actually like bring us and honestly I think Tag probably could be in that they have a content creator on staff figure out a good way to like present it. Like I know they've done certain
What, the
series
47-part infomercial before he got equity in it wasn't good enough for you? Like
but I mean
that
like as
wasn't
far as
enough?
like showing like what the actual software does, like being able to like here's like for example just any random card, I'm going to grab this Devin Booker out of this random team bag and put it through and randomly assess what it is, and then I'm going to put it through again and see if it gives me the exact same assessment, like that type of stuff, like I'm sure that it very true, Lon. Flippers do want favorable grades. I think most people want favorable grades, though. Just like Ziggy was saying, like most people, like I would rather you give me a 10 on a card rather than give me, if it's like an 8, give me the 8. You know what I mean? Because people want the 10. And if you're going to resell the card, then obviously the 10 is going to get you the premium as opposed to like any other grade. And with the way the market's going now, a lot of times if you're hitting a 9, you're coming close to breaking even on the card, which sucks. Sure. Like back in 2020, you could send in cards and like literally quadruple up getting a 9. And now it's like it's much harder. Like the 10s are like really what people want.
So I guess when I look at it, go back to this Tag thing, and I know you're gonna. I mean, I know you're locked, stocked, and ready to go. Yeah, I know you got the. You got both barrels pointing at me.
I paid $2.25 for that, by the way. That was a 10.
Nice.
Was
that an eBay pickup or was that like an in-person pickup?
No, this was on eBay. This was fantastic. It's a 10. It is a 962. It's a Willie Castro Topps Gold 2022. $2.25.
It's also Willie.
You could have gotten a cheaper raw, by the way. Just
But if they develop, if they are telling us that they develop the technology to do the grading the way they do,
sure.
How does a third party prove that without them giving the technology to the third party to use?
You want methodology? Actually, I can answer that question.
Please do.
So what you'd have to do is you'd have to do this almost Consumer Report style. If you guys remember Consumer Reports from back in the day.
Yep.
So basically, what you'd have to do, and this would be your test. You'd put together a group of cards, preferably really commonly traded cards. Cards, numbered cards would be kind of a way for them to cheat a little bit. You want to stick to something that isn't so obviously identifiable. You run it through the process. You get these cards graded. You figure out what the grades are. You figure out whatever is, take some high resolution images to check with the cards prior to submission, after submission. You run it through, crack everything out, run it through again. And if you can, run it through a third or fourth time. Again, this is not like it would be no cost. Again, this is the thing about independent verification. The goal is to find out if A, you get consistency. Now, the tag guys have said there is a variance of like, I want to say 3 or 4 points, something like that. You could run the same card through 2 or 3 times and there'd be a little bit of variance in it. but it's small enough that presumably that shouldn't make a big difference. 3 or 4 points one way or the other shouldn't make a difference between one big grade and another.
Yeah.
But the point is, you should be able to see that the card should get more or less the same grade in multiple run-throughs. That would validate the consistency part. That's one piece that you want to do. The second piece is, you got your whole grading report. That's part of the big marketing copy, right? So one thing, look, I'll tell you this way. One of the things that happened, one of my buddies, Bobbles and Ball Cards, who does some of the stuff with me, he interviewed the founder of Tag. And in that conversation, they discussed one of the cards that one of our friends had purchased. And we were able to pull up the serial number. And I'll see if I find the link, I'll send it to you so you can go look at it yourself. Cool. So anyway, what happened was they had them. It was the founder, and then several of the staff and team were part of that live stream. So they were doing a live stream, doing an interview discussion. And they said, okay, part of your marketing copy is that this grading report that you guys generate is supposed to tell us why the card got the grade it did. That's literally the way you phrase it. It tells us why the card got the grade it did. That's the whole point of this whole fancy report. I go, okay, so we got this card. I'm going to give you the serial number. We can pull it up, the grading report, the whole thing. Cool. All right, tell me why I got the grade it did. Blank stare. He's got his guys there that literally do it, because the thing is, they can, with the serial number, they can pull it up on their screen and look at the report.
Yeah.
And you know what the answer was in the end? Oh, we'd have to look at the card in person. And I'm sitting there watching this on my screen going, then what the hell is the point of your stupid report if I need you to have the card in your hand anyway to see it? If I'm buying this on eBay, then your report is worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
That was the founder on the screen with his guys in their office, unable to tell me why the card got the grade it did. We gave him an actual card that was their card. You couldn't even do it with your guys in the room. If you, the company, cannot tell me why the card got the grade it did without physically seeing the card, then what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if their claim
you got a fancy holder.
is
Congratulations,
yeah.
You got a fancy holder. Good job.
Yeah. If their claim is that you can scan the barcode and it takes you to the grading page,
you would think anybody should be able to identify like what the grade should be, like,
yeah,
or at least like that's what it should develop into, like to where
the report,
like,
well, the report
my
was
mom
supposed to
could
give
pick
you
up
that
a
information.
slab, know nothing about cards, and being able to be like, oh, this Roddy Piper card from 1985 got a 6 because of this, and this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the whole point of that detailed report was supposed to be, and I think the one thing on the report that I think is probably the most useful one is the centering, because there's a piece there that does the centering, and the machine should be able, the scanner, the fancy scanner they've got, should be able to more or less tell you the alignment. That's good. That's not a bad thing. That is useful information where the naked eye might not, without pulling a ruler out. That's a little bit fancier than just using a ruler. That's great. But the rest of it is like, oh, there's a nick over here and a scratch over here and whatever. And one of the things was, okay, cool. Did that scratch knock it down? It's like, oh, well, it was a minor scratch and it took off 6 points. And I go, that doesn't mean anything to me as a person. On your 1,000-point scale, that means nothing. So is that scratch big enough to have knocked it down a grade or not? Or was it in combination with these other ones? And if it had been one less scratch, it would have been a grade higher or lower. That level of granularity, if that's what we're arguing about, you have not helped me. You're not actually helping me. Then I'm no better off than, why did it get a 9 instead of a 10?
yeah.
Because I'm still having the same conversation, except you gave me a fancy report.
I feel like I've actually been swung from like really liking the, like, here's my card, give me all the information you can really give me about it, to like, just like people were saying in the chat, I just want a 10. Like I literally just want to send my cards in, get good grades, and sell them on eBay.
Yeah, like I said, I'm already. I always lead with, I will never do a video review of Tag, because I'm already predisposed to my negative biases to the individuals involved. So just to be clear, full disclosure, I have negative biases to the individuals involved in that enterprise.
Gotcha.
So with that said, I can still I can still leave you with some questions to you, those of you with more open minds. I can still offer you these questions that you can ask on your own. And if you get answers that are your satisfaction, then you're good to go. Move on with your day. But I can still offer you those questions that if I was in your shoes, I would ask these questions to them. And if you're not getting a satisfactory answer, then maybe walk away. My thought process is, we've got enough players in the space. I don't want to be your guinea pig. And the biggest problem that we've got with this company going on right now, with a lot of these other startup companies that are going on, is that I'm not going to pay you to find out if you're good or not. I want you to prove to me you're good before I start giving you my money. And the problem is they're operating a business, so they actually need your money,
Yeah.
and you get to be the guinea pig. And if they screw up, and they've acknowledged this, if the way market accepts certain things changes. So remember, we're talking about consistency. That's one of the hallmarks of this entire conversation.
Yeah.
It's a computer program. At the end of the day, someone has to program it. Well, the person that they've got there, their expert, is a person who worked at PSA for 6 years. If you don't think PSA does a good job, you literally hired a former PSA employee who is helping you program the thing. So all you've done is program the inconsistency you didn't like in the first place. And by the way, he wasn't the lead grader. He was a dude that worked at PSA. He's your main expert that this entire thing is based on. So is your program even good? Or is it Tom Brady? I'm just asking a question.
No,
Say, like, look,
I'll
I'm
tell you
super
what, if
biased.
it's Tom
To be
Brady,
clear,
you'd
I'm
still
super
be the go
biased.
to the hobby.
To be clear, I'm super biased. Like, I could not be more biased, so I want
Yeah.
to make that clear. Like, don't listen to
Yeah.
this guy. He has no idea what he's talking about. But if I was you, I would ask that question. And it is indicative to me that the people in that office could not use the report that was supposed to be something that was useful to me to answer the question. And they said, you still have to have the card in your hand to really be sure. And I go, well, dude, if I'm on eBay and I punch in your report, I cannot have the card in my hand. So I needed, your report was supposed to help me. And if
Right.
you are telling me your report cannot help me, your report is worthless. I'm sorry, we're done.
I mean, you're 100% correct. I mean, if that type of thing, I mean, so what is every single person supposed to do? Buy a card, then arbitrarily mail it to them so they could go ahead and say, give you, or, the real reason why the card got the grade it got. I mean, that's
Cross
just
your fingers and hope for the best.
right. That's just a stupid business policy.
So right
Yeah.
now, the problem is right now, it's a chicken or the egg thing. Right now, they don't have the track record to establish that they've been able to do it. They're telling me that, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing the other thing. It's like, cool, but you haven't proven that to me, and I'm not going to pay you to the privilege to find out if you can.
So does that that thought process that you have, is that geared more towards when you're looking at it, because you're looking at that card because you want to flip that card, or is it just principle?
I'm
Like
not
if
going to
it
be
like
the,
like if
I'm
it was
not
a
going to be the
PC
first
card
person.
that if you had a PC card that was gonna go in the casket when you or and you didn't care,
Mhm.
would that sway you from going there if you like the way the slab looks?
If I like the way the slab looks and I want to buy a glorified holder, I would at least consider it because I'd treat it as a glorified holder. If that's the way we're playing this game, I would treat it as a glorified holder. Here's the problem.
An upgrade
Now,
from a one touch, basically.
basically, yeah. And the problem is that a one touch is cheaper. And here's the thing: I actually think the see-through top is stupid. I actually don't like it because if you try to take a picture of the thing, like, look, what does it say? It's like you can see whatever's behind it, so you have to be really careful when you're taking the image. I actually think it's impractical for me, but other people obviously like it. But I'm sitting there like, well, dude, then just get a one touch. Just get, if you just want, I want it see-through. I don't want the label to distract it. Well, then get a one touch, and you don't have a label.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. You can get it for $5. You don't have to send it off.
Right.
So the problem is if I don't trust the grading because I don't have a reason to trust it right now, then I might as well have used the one touch and saved the money.
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I do it?
Yeah, no, I get it. Like I said, I think that I think these lower tier companies that still that have submissions like like Tag, or I mean I don't you know um, HGA, those type of companies. I think that's more of a, hey, I kind of like the slab, so that's why I want to put my card there. I'm not sending my 52 mantle to Tag for grading or CSG for grading, right? I'm sending that one to SGC or PSA, for grading. But I think if it's one of those things where if it's going to be in my collection and I want the card protected, and I would think that holder would protect the card more than a one touch. I may be wrong. I'm not a scientist. I haven't done any testing on it, but I would think that one could protect the card more than a one touch. I can understand why people would use them. They go by what they like.
I suppose. Yeah, but then it also goes back to a cost thing. Again, if you really
True.
genuinely do like the holder, then fine. I can see where your argument is. I just look at it also like I said, for me, I actually do like the CGC/CSG holder. So I actually like it the
Yeah.
way it is. I think it's good. So I'm also looking at, for them, they actually offer a very affordable option if you do like the holder. So
Yeah.
so if I just go strictly from price point, if you're one of the if you're part of one of the bulk submitters or a collector club or whatever, you can get it for comfortably under $10 a card. Hard to beat that. Like, it's like, that's a pretty good deal if,
Yep.
again, if that's what you're shooting for. And then when they got one of the specials or whatever, then it gets really cheap. I think it was like $9.60 a card or something. Like, hard to beat that. That's pretty good. What the tag stuff that they were doing, that you had to buy packages. So I think you had to buy at least a 5 card package or whatever, or I forget what it was. So you already had to pay up front for like 5 or 10 cards to be
Yeah.
able to use it. So it's like, all right, so you're already asking me for more money. I don't even know if I like what you're doing yet. I would be like, give me the price so I can do 1 card. Let me see,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk. But I'm not committing to 5 or 10 cards just based on nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I've never actually submitted with Tag, but I've seen that they have like because I've seen them at the Burbank Card Show because I used to live in LA, and they have like a really nice display and setup and stuff like that, and they have like these submission kits. I guess whenever you do a submission, they send out like to where you get like special. I don't know if they're like they're kind of like card savers, but they say Tag on them, and it's like a whole like little box. And
They're literally card savers to say Tag them.
Yeah.
My guys are probably sitting there going like, Carlos, when's the shoe gonna drop? Carlos, when's the shoe gonna drop? I'm being very nice right now. I'm being good. Go ahead. Sorry.
Because you're a man of peace.
I am a man of peace right now. I am being a man of peace as we speak.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we've been going close to 2 hours. I don't want to keep you too long tonight. I know you're used to running about 4, but is there anything we haven't?
It's on you, boys. It's your show.
Is there anything we haven't touched on tonight that you would like to talk about, Carlos?
Well, I could touch on a million things. No, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. No, it's whatever you guys want to talk about. If you want to go for a couple more minutes, I'm happy to.
Cool.
More by all means. But yeah, just let me know. I've had a lot of fun with the conversation, even the tag conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been having a fun.
I feel like you should do something more legit, like some rando in the corner. Somebody with some legitimacy. There's probably a guy out there who has like stickers that you can put on a one touch or something. More legit business.
Yeah.
I think he uses AI too. That's what the voices tell him. The voices tell him what the AI is doing. So it's legit. That seems legit to me.
There actually are guys I've seen on eBay that have those businesses where they basically take like they've gone through like Alibaba or whatever to buy slabs, and then they literally just like it's almost like peel and stick stickers they stick over top of the slab rather than actually like putting a label in there.
I'm already convinced. I'm already willing to rank them above tech. Like you sold me on it. Like I'm there. I'm ready to send them some cards.
It's a dude in Edmonton waiting for his slab machine to come in.
What's funny, my personal favorite, because it doesn't get enough of a running gag because they're so obscure. The guy who owns the name, what's the name? There's the guy who owns ISA. The name's, I want to say Jason Kuntz or something like that.
That is Jason
Yeah.
Kuntz.
Yep.
Yeah. He claims he's number 3 in terms of graded cards. Except
Really?
nobody can validate. Again, going back to what we're talking about. I'm sure he uses AI too and whatever. I don't even know. But he claims to be number 3 in terms of the number of submitted cards. I have never seen anyone submit a card to ISA. But he claims that, I think he said once that it's like, oh yeah, we like 72,000 cards got submitted last month. And I'm like, where?
I don't even think most people that do the Pop Report shows put them on the Pop Report show. Like, hey, yeah,
Are you sure you didn't mean 72? Are you sure you didn't mean 72?
Hey, ISA had probably about a 16-foot area at the National in Chicago. Now, I'm not saying it was filled with people, but they had an area that was at least probably 16. I think they had like at least 2 or 3, 6-foot tables with some crap behind them. And I think once when I walked by, there was one person standing there. Now, they may have been asking directions of where something else is.
Hey, where's PSA at, guys?
I'm not saying they were asking about submitting cards, but when I walked by, there was a person standing there at least once.
Well, look, all I got to say is if we've learned nothing else from the discussion of everybody's favorite coaster maker, the elite coaster maker of the hobby, the kids game, tag you're in. But the Elite Coaster Maker, the hobby over there, has beautiful booths. They got fancy displays and everything. I think my YouTube channel is closer to being in the black, and it doesn't make any money. But the expenses are lower, so I think I'm closer to making it into the black right now so far.
Yeah,
it's going great.
We do have a question here from Dom in regards to your PC. I know you showed a few Brit cards earlier, and we talked a little about Medano. Any other PCs that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so Medano's the main one. The Brit one's been a lot of fun doing that. We got my boy, Brit. Got my guy.
Nice.
I got a bunch. I keep a lot of these on the desk just so that at least until I process them, I basically will hang on to them a little bit. There's an auto. These are all from a mail day recently. This one's actually a fun one. I don't know if you guys remember these.
Oh yeah, those are cool. I got Cordell Stewart like that.
Yeah, those are fun. Not crazy expensive, but fun cards. I
was just in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the last few days, right where Mr. Favre, had his whole little thing.
What do you mean? His legitimate business dealings? I get so much joy and pleasure, literally in a Discord I'm in. Whenever I refer to him, I don't even refer to him by name. I just put "Not Swell Fella." I just wrote "Not Swell Fella PC," because a lot of folks is like, "What?" He's like, "Dude, I don't care. I'm not worried. I liked him because he was the quarterback of my team. I enjoyed watching him play football.
Yep.
I know he's not a good person. Right. I am aware." It's like I'm not collecting him because again, the joke is I'm not collecting him because he's a swell fella.
Yeah,
I'm collecting him because he was a good football player in his day. That's the reason why. That's it.
True. He was awesome though. Like he really was. Like
he was a lot of fun to watch.
Watching
him
gunsling, man.
Yeah. He was highly entertaining. And this one's another Leaf one for the Medano one. I like these. I'm trying to learn a little bit more about these ones. I think these are like eBay or internet exclusives. I'm not sure what the deal is with these, but these are actually pretty tough. This is numbered to 4, but Leaf does a lot of those limited print run stuff.
Yeah.
They do a lot of those. So, but it's a nice card. It's another auto just to add. Like, I've literally got hundreds of Medano autos, so I just enjoy adding a couple more where I can here. Main PC is Medano. The Brit PC is obviously something that I have a lot of fun with now. I've done well with those. The Favre one, I'm a lot pickier. I look for a lot of cool 90s cards, actually. This one.
There's so many cool 90s inserts and stuff. That's a nice card.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a hard one to get a good grade too, with all those edges, corners.
So that's a fun card. So I look for stuff like that. I look for stuff that's entertaining or fun or whatever. I've tried to keep one thing I've done. I'm one of those people that never really left the hobby. I always kind of chipped away at it. I was pretty consistent. I had slow down periods, but when I was in school and didn't have a lot of time or a lot of money, I would still go on eBay on the weekends, grab a card here or there. It would get shipped off to the house. When I got back home, I'd have some padded envelopes waiting for me. That was even during those eras. So before I collected, and then when I got back and I was back at work and doing stuff, I'd be like chipping away, grabbing cards. I do that. I collect some vintage, a little bit, a couple of sets. It's a mixed bag of stuff, but I've always tried to keep it fun. I have a good time. I'm here because I'm still having a good time. And again, I can slander Tom Brady. I can slander, kids games, masquerading as card graders. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet doing what I do.
Is there a Medano, Favre? I mean, Brit might be too new in her cards, but is there a Medano or a Favre card, or even let's say a Brit card that you would like to have that you don't have yet that you know of?
Oh, for sure. Medano's easier just because the collection's been going for so long. There are certain ones from the 90s that are still eluding me just because they're really tough to come by. It's a very select list. I'll just put it this way. In his first 10 years of his checklist, from 1990 to 99, so that section, I think he's got about 800 or 1,000 cards. I'm missing like 80. I have comfortably well over 90% of what's left is like, this one's out of 25. I haven't seen one in 10 years. This one's out of this. It's like they exist in theory.
Yeah.
Some of them you just don't see anymore. But yeah, there tends to be some obscure stuff in that late 90s period that has just evaded me. I know a few Medano collectors who have a few of those, but yeah, I just kind of sit and wait. I've got my eBay safe search, and every day I just check, is today the day? Is it going to be there? So, but from the whole boom period there, the whole pandemic boom period there, honestly, I was able to scratch off a lot of those Grail cards, a lot of them.
That's awesome.
And it was crazy. Like out of my top 100 that I needed, I probably crossed off like 85 or 90 of them during that entire run. but it was a lot of money. I was like,
Sure.
buy, 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 buy. I was like, I've been waiting 10. I haven't seen one in 10 years. I'm buying this one.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
I did that with LeBron for a while, and yeah, it can get addicting, especially like when you have those saved searches to where you get alerts whenever stuff starts to hit eBay.
Yeah. I just knew it wasn't going to last, though. It's a situation where the money brought it out of the woodwork. The issue was that they were actually tough cards to find. That's
Yeah,
the reason why they weren't there. They just had dried up years ago. And then
yeah,
some people were like, oh my God, there's money to be made here. Let me put it up. So, and then I was sitting there like a hawk waiting for the moment. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting it. So I can answer this for Dom. Favorite set? I don't collect a lot of sets anymore. The only real sets I collect kind of are vintage. I'm working on a 53 Bowman color set for
oh, that's
baseball.
nice. That's
Oh,
really
wow.
nice.
So that's a new one that I just picked up in my recent mail. These are beautiful cards. Love them.
That's really cool.
That's
So
really
collection
nice.
spans a lot of different things. Predominantly player collecting is like most of it. But yeah, I've got a handful of sets that I'll collect. It's fun stuff.
It's really cool. I've been really narrowing down my players I collect lately to just like the ones that I'm most like passionate about. Because I've been such a team collector for most of my life. Like, man, like unless you're rich, it's really hard to just buy all the cards that come out for your team because they like will literally straight up put some straight bums into some sets.
Well,
And
can I ask you this? Let me ask you a question based on what you just said.
yeah,
Do you find that there's a case where, like, yeah, you got your team loyalties and stuff, but like there are some players who, in theory, would make sense to collect, but you don't necessarily? Like I showed those FARs, but you'd be
hmm
surprised how few Aaron Rodgers I have. And it's not because I don't respect Aaron Rodgers. It's not because I didn't appreciate, he was an excellent quarterback.
yeah,
A weird dude though. Now,
yeah,
great for jokes. The
for
amount of
sure.
darkness jokes when that thing came out, I was like, I got so much mileage out of that darkness joke,
Uh huh.
so much mileage out of the darkness. But the thing, he's a weird dude. Like
Yeah.
all my Packer quarterbacks are weird. I'm hoping that Jordan Love is like schizophrenic or something or talks to himself because
Yeah,
all the good ones we've got are weird.
yeah,
I just need to figure out what it is.
yeah.
I'm hoping if he's got something, there's a chance.
Well, he sat
Third
behind
straight
Rodgers
Hall of
long
Fame
enough.
quarterback. Let's go. Maybe he collects Chinese nesting doll. Oh, sorry, Russian nesting dolls or something. I don't care. Whatever
Mhm.
weird quirk it is, if he wants to defraud the Mississippi welfare system too, that's cool with me. It's fine. Do it after your playing career, but it's fine.
Yes.
It's fine.
Dawn was asking, is there any sets you look forward to releasing throughout the year?
Um, I'm a big fan. Historically, I've been a big fan of some of the old Upper Deck sets. The problem is all the newer ones just aren't as fun anymore. I like the old SPX. Old SPX was really fun. Those are
Yeah.
good. I do like the Cup. I'll say this: I like the Cup, and they've got some exquisite cards they'll put in there as well. But I like the Cup just because it is higher end. But I don't need most of the stuff on there. But what they do have is really cool, and I love that it's on card autographs. That is the
Yeah,
number one thing. And actually,
love
see,
on
the
card
beauty of
auto.
having everything on the desk when you get the
Yeah,
new mail days, you can just reach over. It's all the stuff
yes,
there. There you go.
that's a nice chunky
Oh,
patch.
wow.
Yeah, that's the emblem of endorsement. That's one of my new Medanos that I got in. So
What do you think the
game
chances
used,
of
game
us?
used on card.
What do you think the chances of us getting AEW exquisite is?
I think it's about the same as me grading all my collection in tag.
It's
Right
about
about
three.
the same. Right
So
about the
they,
same.
So
Look,
that would be
I'll pitch it. Look, I know a guy.
yeah,
I can pitch it, but I just don't know. Look, I was just shocked when they finally released the damn set. I was
yeah,
the problem. We still got a backlog. They got metal out. That's why I was able to get these cards. So awesome,
right.
great. But we still technically need a lure. We still technically need 2023 flagship, which won't come out until 2024. There's no way.
yeah,
So 2023. And they've already done the renders for the 2023 metal, which can't come out any sooner than 2024 anyway. I'm like,
yeah,
what are you people stupid? What is wrong with you? And I was like, just change the year. Just call it
yeah,
2024. Stop
yeah,
lying to us. Just call it. Skip 2023. Just call it
yeah.
2024 because that's when it's coming out.
Mhm. You
Yeah.
would think with them not having as many sets, why it takes so long to get them out. But I mean, I don't know what's involved in that logistically or anything, but it just seems like
I
Panini
have a
gives you a
few. I
set
have a
every day.
few ideas. I have a few ideas.
Mhm.
I also have my conspiracy theory. So here's my conspiracy theory. I think the combination of Panini and Topps / Fanatics.
Mhm.
I think they have their contracts a little bit more favorable. I think this is strictly me. Nobody else is no insight on this one. I think they have priority, and I think Upper Deck gets pushed to the back of the line. Upper Deck is like, can you print our stuff? Can you print? We have a contract. Can you print our stuff? Is your stuff ready? It's like, oh, but the printers are busy. Like, we'll get to it. Don't worry.
That makes sense.
And then all of a sudden, Panini's like, yeah, can you just push it in front of them? Yeah, no problem.
Do you think Upper Deck's in any jeopardy, like kind of like Panini, like as far as Fanatics coming in and like trying to steal any of their licenses?
I think if they've got a couple of licenses that they really want, I was very surprised that Upper Deck was able to retain the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've got a good relationship. I think it helps a lot. I think the NHL legitimately does appreciate what they do. I think they do enjoy. You got to understand, the Cup is called the Cup because the NHL allows it. So they've got a really good relationship. So the NHL said, if you're going to call it the Cup, and this is canon. You can go back to the history of Carvin Chung, who was involved in that whole thing. Talked with him at length on the channel. But the deal is that the NHL said you can only call it the Cup if it is always the highest end set. There can be nothing higher. That is the reason why Exquisite exists in hockey, but it is maybe included as part of the Cup or one other set. But it can never exist. It never gets lead over the Cup. In hockey, the Cup will always be the top brand. And whatever else happens underneath it, it has to be the top brand. And that's part of the deal they have with the NHL. And because they've agreed to that, have a good relationship, I think that's helped them with the NHL. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if the AEW license went away. They still got it for a while, but it's one of those things where, like, you're not really releasing any products. So, but I guess it depends on whether Fanatics wants it or not.
Yeah.
They could have the number 1 and 2 wrestling. They could have the number 1 and 2 wrestling companies under their.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if even maybe Panini makes a play for it, or like, man, are they just dead in the water? Like that's what I'm kind of wondering now. Like, is Fanatics going to let them retain any of their stuff? Because like I'm expecting UFC to be next, NBA to be next. Like, who knows?
I think Panini is going to try to take their lunch money. I think they're trying to. I think it's one of those things where Panini is fighting a losing battle. Again, strictly in my opinion, just strictly my opinion. I think they're fighting a losing battle. I think Fanatics is going to keep hitting body blow after body blow. They've got a lot of it. I think Michael Rubin is literally sitting in a room giggling to himself like a schoolgirl with his cronies around him going like, how can we screw with them? What else haven't we done already? What do we have? Yeah. Can I like have their kids punched in the face at school? Like, what can I do to really mess with these dudes that I haven't already done? And they're sitting there like scheming ideas. And they're just like one after another. They're doing all these little things. And obviously some bigger things, but a lot of little, like you just think, the whole WWE thing going on right now, technically Fanatics can claim, well, we had nothing to do with that. That was WWE who did that. I'm sure nobody at WWE had, Michael Rubin came over, hey guys, wouldn't it be kind of fun if you started screwing with Panini a little bit? And, like he wouldn't, there's going to be nothing written down, nothing on a computer anywhere, but I'm sure a conversation was had.
Oh,
I'm sure some ideas were offered.
Well, I mean, but it's amazing how it was the exact, almost the exact same wording as with the NFL.
Yeah. So for this one, for what Dom's saying here, they ruled that they couldn't put a temporary restraining order. They were trying to do a temporary restraining order, and they ruled that they couldn't do the temporary restraining order. And part of the argument in the case, and follow Paul Lesko. Paul Lesko on Twitter is a good follow for this because he's keeping an eye on that stuff. But apparently part of the problem was that, they had actually violated some stuff, but WWE had waited a long time before, like, well, if they violated it and you wanted to do something about it, why'd you wait a year?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it now? Because the whole temporary restraining order thing is trying to stay some kind of urgency. They're saying, oh, no, we need to stop them from violating this. It's like, they violated like 6 months or a year ago. Well, why didn't you guys put a restraining order back then?
True.
So is it urgent, or is it a case like that doesn't mean that WWE can't still win the war in this lawsuit, in this battle, but it just means they weren't able to put a stop to them right that second. But but one of the things that also means, like, let's just be honest with ourselves, like, let's be truthful. So Michael, if we're doing this kind of business and you've decided you don't want to do business with Anthony anymore, you try to do an injunction, it doesn't work. Well, you could still do like, we'll do the podcast, and it's like, let's do the podcast. You don't have to cooperate. You can like do the bare minimum of require. So you have to think WWE and it's like, oh yeah, well they said we can still produce the cards. Okay, fine. So can we have those autographs? Yeah, the autographs from the superstars who are under our contract. About that.
Hmm.
Good
Yeah.
luck releasing a product when there's no cooperation, right? And also,
Yeah.
you have to approve designs and stuff. Yeah. Let's look at that. You said that a week ago. Yeah, we're looking at it. We'll get back to you. Q5.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's incredible what has happened, what Fanatics has been able to do, and I think it was like Big John said it before, is that everybody's concerned about Fanatics, having a monopoly and all this other kind of stuff, but there are other parts of the industry where no one gives a rat's ass if someone has a monopoly, and I don't know. I mean, I just I don't know how good it is for one company to have everything. I know back in the day it did and all this other kind of stuff and everything, but uh,
See,
The
now I've planted the
relationship is
seed.
strong, Dom.
oh my god.
I've planted the seed. Now Michael is like, wait a minute, I can do that.
Michael's like, I haven't been paid
Carlos,
for this.
tell me
Apparently.
more. I'm intrigued by your ideas, and I'd like to subscribe to your
Right.
newsletter.
It's like Anthony's making what, $5 a month? I haven't
Yeah,
gotten
what
any of
the
that.
hell? I ain't making
It's like,
jack
it's like,
squat.
it's like we need to negotiate our cut here. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on over there, buddy?
Oh, I just went over 400 subs, man. What are you kidding me?
I'm pretty
I
sure
just
at
think-
500 you can get monetized now. So guys, if you
I
haven't
still think it's 1,000.
subscribed,
Did they change it?
Oh.
I thought it was 1,000.
I think they lowered it. I could have sworn they
Oh,
lowered
okay.
it to 500 now.
They've
did-
changed the
they
rules
did
so many
lower some
times I've
down.
lost count. They've changed
Yeah.
the rules now so many times I've lost count.
Like whenever I was building up to 1,000, they just changed it from whatever it was to 1,000. I was like, oh well,
Okay.
damn! Now I have to like keep going.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All I'll say though is like I think there's a lot of discussion. I think if they're smart, and I'll give them credit for being smart. I think if they're smart, there's probably a lot of discussions happening behind the scenes. Like I the visual that I created with you guys for cartoonish effect. I don't think it's necessarily quite that dramatic, but no, there's definitely discussions being had where they're like, yeah, how can we fuck with them? And
Oh,
literally, like
definitely.
they're just sitting there brainstorming different ideas in different ways. And like I said, WWE doesn't have to make Panini's life easier.
No.
Like if they've already declared it. If you're Panini, you're sitting there like, regardless of what you do in the courts, they've basically said they're done with you.
Yeah.
You got to be sitting there going like, we're just staving off the inevitable at this point. It's like, yeah, we can come up with some legal wrangling or whatever. It's like, what are we gonna do? Force them to let us release cards? Force them to make? What about all those redemptions? WWE could be like, yeah, we'll get it over to them, no problem. Try selling your product when you can't get the stuff that people want in the product.
Sure.
No, you're right. I mean, there's all it does is cost Panini more money for
Yeah.
court and all the other kind of stuff. It's not like you said. It's not going to go ahead and change the inevitable. It's not going to make like you said. There's no need for WWE to go ahead and make their life easy. Or to give them everything that they, well, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We don't want autographs in our sets anymore. We're not doing that kind of stuff. I mean, it just it's a game. It's a stupid game. It's a sad game. And I don't know. I think it's one of the things that sheds a bad light on the hobby overall.
Sure.
Because now think about it. Now we're just wondering, when is the NFL going to do it? And then there's a certain aspect of people that are saying, you know what? When is UFC going to do it? When is NASCAR going to do it? When is soccer going to go ahead and do it? And then at that point, who gives a crap? Like, I just don't understand. Like, why didn't Panini go ahead and just sell?
They'd probably have been better off, like at least selling Panini America. Like I think if anything, they might keep soccer just because like that's kind of what put them on the map was the soccer stickers, like overseas that they had been producing for years and years and years. But I don't know. Like if they keep anything, I would say it's probably trying to keep that overseas Panini whatever alive. But
I think it's good old fashioned stubbornness. You got to remember, like at the end of the day, if we strip back everything, you're talking about boardrooms, you're talking about executives and these different things with egos. Part of the fun of the stuff that I do is I play up the fact that it's like there's a lot of us in this hobby who have egos,
Yeah.
and we think we're right, and it's almost more important. We're almost willing to burn everything down to try to win, even if we can't. At a certain point, it's like
Yeah.
you actually can't win, but it's like, you know what? I'm taking you all down with me. And I'm going to drag this out until the last possible. Even after all hope is gone and there's nothing we can do, do we have one bullet left? Is there one? It's like it's not going to hit anything. It's like fire. And these guys are still trying, even because some of those executives at Panini are probably sitting there going like, yeah, Fanatics is going to hire us, so we're out of work no matter what. As soon as that deal goes through, we're out of work. So you know what? Screw it. We're dragging it out to the last day.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, whatever that day is. I don't know when that's going to come.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure they could still make money. I mean, because Leaf still makes money. You know what I mean? Upper Deck still makes money, like without being like a primary company with like licensing. Like I don't think Leaf has licensing for anything, and they still do. I would imagine well.
Yeah, not really. It's one of those things where if they do, then it's like small level, like they'll pick up some little licenses here and there. But I guess maybe the best way to put it is this way. I always look at it. So bringing it back to the hobbyists, I think this is where it helps being a cynical, selfish hobbyist. I really don't care who makes the cards. I really don't care what brands are there, what brands are. Yeah, there are some that I prefer, some that I like better. That's why none of this stuff bothers me. Part of the reason I can we'll have the scandals of the hobby, and some folks really get worked up about the scandals, which fair enough, respect. But I kind of look at it sometimes, and we won't get into a full discussion about it. But the cardboard thing, obviously a big deal, all that stuff, right? I barely talked about it, and people were like, "Oh, Carlos, why don't you talk about it?" It's like, and this will be the analogy I'll offer to you guys. If I told you that somebody got run over by a car and died, you'd be like, "Oh, that's really sad." But context is everything. If I said that your mother got run over by a car and died, well, then you care a lot. Like, a big deal. Assuming you like your mother. Otherwise, maybe you were rooting for it. But different conversation. Context
Or
matters.
you were driving the car.
Or you were driving the car. Again, context matters. Context matters. But I'm just speaking in general terms. Let's pretend you're not a sociopath. If we pretend you're not a sociopath and you like your mother, then this is bad. If it's a friend, bad. And if I just tell you that someone vehicular homicide is bad, if I make that general statement, most people will say, yeah, I agree with you. That is a crime that is bad.
Yeah.
But if I say to you that happened 15,000 miles away 6 months ago, well, yeah, it's still bad, but I kind of feel nothing. That's okay, yeah, but I agree, it's still bad. But it's the same thing. I just took the same crime. I didn't make it good, but I also separated you so far away from it that it's like, well, yeah, I still kind of feel nothing. Mm-hmm. So when I looked at that card porn thing, it's like, you know what? On the one hand, it's very dramatic, the whole web of fraud and everything. But I'm like, does this affect the cost of my Britt Baker cards today? It didn't.
No.
Did it change Did it change my tag slander today? It did not. Did it prevent me from Tom Brady slander this evening? It didn't. So am I affected in any way, shape, or form? Really?
No.
Well, my amount of caring is reflective of my impact. And I'm not going to say it's right. I'm going to say it's a crime. I hope they prosecute it, investigate it, do all that. I can say all those things. But at the same time, Carlos is like, I don't care. But otherwise, I don't care.
Yeah, I think the when it comes to stuff like, people saying, oh, Fanatics having it all, it's bad for the hobby, it's good for the hobby, it's that and the other thing. To me, I think, what I look at from a standpoint of is that if you're a collector in the hobby and cards are available in more places, I don't, it still comes down to price. Maybe the price comes down, maybe it doesn't, who knows? The collector, like to your point, not really going to care that much. I think the people who are the most concerned are the ones that are looking at these pieces of cardboard as, these are my equivalent to my 401k, my Roth IRA. This is what I'm banking my, future on. And I think those people are the ones that are the most nervous, because if all of a sudden your stuff isn't as rare and there's too much of it, now your value is not there. And what you thought you had, you don't have anymore, or you have less of it from that standpoint.
I agree. I agree.
I think that's what, I think that's the big difference of the hobby, is that it's split between the collector and then, to me, the whole thing, well, you flip cards, you're an investor. No, to me, an investor is someone who looks at something and says, this is a long-term hold. I'm going to hold on to these and cash them out, and I'm going to buy the beach house that I never thought I'd be able to go ahead and afford. or the chalet in the mountains because I love skiing. That's what looking at. The flipper is a guy who sells 3, 5, 10, 15, or $100 cards because there's really other cards that he wants to go ahead and get for his actual collection that he wants to save.
Now, Anthony, I think that the visual image has become a lot clearer to me. Michael painted a beautiful picture of that chalet that I think he's closer to buying after offing his mother with the car. It all comes together. It all comes full circle. I'm sensing motive. We didn't realize what the motive was, but the visual of the chalet, like
That's
that was
right?
very enthusiastic. I was moved. Singles
Yeah.
here. I was moved. That was
I'm
good.
telling you.
I like it.
I would agree.
All I got to do is get monetized also.
But you see, in a nutshell, this is what happens in my live stream. Like somebody says something perfectly reasonable, and I take it down a dark criminal path. It's just awful.
Yeah. So, guys, do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to Michael. We want to get him over that 500 so we can get him monetized. Also, subscribe.
I will do it just so he doesn't have to off his mother to get the chalet.
Correct.
I'm doing it for the benefit of your mother. Like, if no one else, for goodness sake.
She will be very appreciative of it.
Yeah. Yeah. She definitely doesn't want to be roadkill. She drive a big Jeep or whatever your vehicle is.
I don't think you got to worry
Don't
about
worry,
that.
Dom.
Tommy.
I think we're going to stay together.
As long as Anthony offers a good alibi, because it's getting dark over here. Like, I'm getting worried. If it gets any darker, we'll be able to pin it on Aaron Rodgers. It'll be dark.
True. Very true. And that's your guy right now, Michael.
That's my quarterback, man. That's my quarterback.
Like I said, I enjoy. He entertains me. I enjoyed it for what he was. He was never quite as much fun as Favre, though. Like Favre was look. I literally have a book that's Life After Favre, and they wrote it when early days of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I don't think we're going to get a Life After Aaron.
No.
Aaron was never as much fun. That was I think that's what ruins it for me. I appreciated what he did. Super Bowl 45 and everything. Always will be appreciative.
I enjoyed
it.
I hated that one.
Obviously. For obvious reasons. Absolutely. But yeah, the rest of it was just like you see brilliance, but then frustration.
Yeah.
All those NFC championships, like there probably should have been another Super Bowl appearance or two. Like this is really sad.
Hey, thank you, Jay. Appreciate that, brother.
Good stuff, Jay. Yeah. Jay, appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Jay. Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, sir. Much appreciated, Jay. Yeah. Thank you, Carlos, for going ahead and hanging out with us.
Yeah, this has been really fun, man. I've definitely enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again sometime.
Of course, and I hope the amount of seriousness and gravitas that I brought to this didn't bring the whole thing down.
No, not at all. I know that you're a very serious man.
And a man of peace. It's very important that we're very clear on this matter.
Man of peace.
He's a man of peace. Yes. He's in no way, shape, or form slandered Tom Brady or tag rating.
I have not said one ill word about anyone that I'm aware of on this broadcast.
I can't believe we've only talked about 2.
Appreciate that, lady Huddle.
I've subscribed to Huddle, so in the Don't Kill Your Mother Fund. So
Thank you. Much appreciate it.
So, and I did it on the phone live while we were doing it, so I took care of that.
That's awesome.
Done.
Saving mother one subscription at a time, guys.
I bet y'all didn't have me doing an elaborate murder scheme on your bingo card.
Yeah.
No,
This is what I bring to the table. None of you know what's coming, and that's what makes it awesome.
Hey, thank you so much, Dom. And yeah, this was a phenomenal guest. We really appreciate Carlos for being here. And if you guys could go and subscribe to him, I have a pinned comment in the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, I have his subscription in the link down in the description as well. So definitely
hit the like button so I can charge Eric because that bastard needs to pay.
Eric needs to pay. Hit the like button here and there, and we'll double charge him.
Double dipping.
Right.
My girlfriend says man of peace with a dark mind. It's probably why I like him.
The sad part is I don't even premeditate. Like I just think this stuff just comes to me.
Just pops in.
It's like
that's the best way to do it.
Maybe I should stop listening to the voices, but they've got so many good ideas. So many sensational ideas. They've been right so far.
Yeah. Jay says to ask you about cookies for Eric.
We have so I'll finish off on the story and then we can sign off. one of my favorite running gags is that there is crumble cookies. So you guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with crumble cookies.
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance to try one yet, but now they've got one in Ontario. So I'm excited about actually checking it out. But the joke was, I don't know when the whole crumble cookie thing happened, when somebody brought it up. Oh, I remember what it was. Bobbles and his wife, Mrs. Bobbles, actually ordered crumble cookies for Eric live while we were on the Friday stream. And he got delivery of the crumble cookies while we were live.
Oh,
so he
wow.
went over to the door and he goes, and then Bobbles is literally like, go answer the door. And Eric is like all suspicious and like paranoid. And he goes and he gets a box of crumble cookies. And he like obsesses about them. And it became a running joke for some weeks. And after a while, it became a joke that it's like, it'd be funny if we just get crumble cookies to sponsor them. And he's done a couple of like faux ads for crumble cookies with his box.
Nice.
So we get so much mileage out of little things. It's the little things, Anthony. Somebody says something happens, and it becomes a running joke. That's the beauty of episodic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, guys, I appreciate everyone being here this evening. Make sure you go and follow Michael. Make sure you go and follow Carlos. If you're not already subscribed here, make sure you do. We will be back again next week, and then we're going 2 weeks on Michael's channel. So normally we go one and then the other, and then we switch back and forth. I'm going to be doing some traveling, so we're doing 2 here and then 2 there. So we'll be back again here next week, same time, same place. Appreciate you guys being here.
Same bat channel. Thanks, everybody. Much appreciated.